TSN presents Labatt's Blue Jays Baseball, brought to you by Labatt's Blue, the clean, true taste of Canada, by Esso retailers and agents across Canada, by your local bottler of Coca-Cola Classic, and by General Motors of Canada Limited. From Grant Field in Dunedin, Florida, on this gorgeous afternoon, about 85 degrees, it's the New York Mets and the Toronto Blue Jays. Hello, everybody. I'm Fergie Oliver, along with our color commentator, Buck Martinez. And even though the Mets lost to the Dodgers in the championship series last year, Buck, I think it's generally conceded that the Mets still have the best team in all of baseball.
Anytime you have a guy like Hernandez, Darryl Strawberry, Kevin McReynolds, and Gary Carter on your club, you've got to be considered to be a talented ball club. And the Mets have depth throughout their roster. Not only the players, but the pitching staff. Led all the National League teams in ERA last year, and they've got the same guys back this year with another year's experience.
On the other side of the diamond, of course, all the excitement about the Toronto Blue Jays. A new attitude, at least a different attitude. People are really excited the way they're playing down here.
They have played outstanding baseball, and what's impressed me is the fact they haven't made any mental mistakes. They haven't made any fundamental errors. They're playing good, sound baseball.
This afternoon, going to the mound for the New York Mets will be the veteran right-hander Ron Darling, and countering for the Toronto Blue Jays will be the left-hander Jeff Musselman. So it's the Mets and the Blue Jays right here on TSN from Dunedin, Florida.
Welcome back to Grant Field in Dunedin, Florida. We're visiting with the Mets captain, Keith Hernandez. And Keith, the big news out of spring training camp early was the little pushing match you had with Darryl Strawberry. Is that all behind you guys now?
Yeah, Buck. Just one of those things. Some things were instigated within the clubhouse that weren't internal within the club, people outside the club. And it's unfortunate things like that have to happen. But, you know, when people are starved for stories, in spring training, the exhibition games don't quite cut it for him. But, you know, you play 7 months out of the year every day. You know as well as I do that something like that, and it sometimes turns out to be a positive and a healthy thing. And ever since that point, the club has had a single-mindedness and gotten down to business, and it's all behind us.
Is there some concern after losing the championship series to the Dodgers when everybody felt you were the best team in the National League last year? Is that loss may carry into this season?
I don't think so. I don't see how it can. With our pitching staff and the talent that we got, you know, give the Dodgers credit. They won the games when they had to, and they went on to beat the two big heavy favorites in the World Series also. So I give them credit. We did the best we could, but they were a little bit better.
Thanks a lot, Keith. Good luck to you in the Mets in 89.
Okay, thanks, Bud.
You're watching Labatt's Blue Jays Baseball on TSN.
Left-hander Jeff Musselman making his 4th start this spring. He first worked on March the 3rd against the Texas Rangers, gave up an earned run in 3 innings, came back against Texas, pitched 3 more, and gave up a couple of earned runs. His last appearance was on Monday against the Pirates, 4 innings, and didn't give up any hits. There's the lineup he'll be facing today. Leading it off is Mookie Wilson in center field.
Wilson, the veteran in center field. Craig Jeffries, the hot-touted rookie, will move over to second base and try to get comfortable there. Hernandez is the first baseman. Darryl Strawberry in right field. Kevin McReynolds, one of the most underrated players in all the major leagues, is in left. It'll be Gary Carter, the DH, Howard Johnson at third, Kevin Elster at short, and Barry Lyons having a very strong spring competing for that backup job behind Carter.
I might add, as we watch this game here in Dunedin this afternoon, as you look at the defense, Bell, Mosby, Barfield in the outfield, Gruber, Fernandez, Liriano, McGriff, Borders, Musselman, as both teams have fielded outstanding starting lineups today. But New York Mets scouts, Dick Gernert in particular, has been following the Blue Jays most of this spring. Al Lamacchia has been over looking at the New York Mets. There's been a lot of talk of possible deals between these two ball clubs. I know the Mets are interested in a left-handed pitcher. The name David Wells has popped up on occasions. John Cerruti, they were interested in at one time. Well, the Blue Jays might be looking for a power hitter, possibly a Howard Johnson at third base.
How about Darryl Strawberry? We'll take him.
Yeah. You'd need the Canadian Imperial Bank of Commerce to get him.
I tell you, this Mets team is so balanced as you look at Musselman and Borders, a couple of good young players for the Blue Jays. Mookie Wilson has been the most consistent Met of all. Last 3 years, 289, 299, 296 average. He's basically in a platoon situation with Dykstra in center field, but both of them get around 400 at bats, so Davey Johnson hesitates to call it a platoon. But Wilson's a switch hitter, and boy, he's been consistent. Last year in September and August, when they were struggling, Wilson hit 385 to really push them towards that National League East pennant.
And that little splurt or surge by Mookie Wilson enabled the Mets to pick up the $1 million option on his contract, and he was probably more surprised than anyone that the Mets renewed his contract for this year at a cool $1 million. Switch hitter.
That'll take the pressure off you on it.
That's the best way I know.
There's a good slider from Musselman, and that's something that he is really working on this spring. Coming off that shoulder surgery, he was concerned about a weakness in his shoulder. Watch his left shoulder, how he follows through with this hard slider. He can really get that shoulder through there now and deliver a good hard slider.
A high chopper to Fernandez. A low throw. Wilson is safe. Fernandez planted that back foot. Couldn't get enough arm strength on that throw, so Wilson is safe.
Looked like Fernandez might have slipped a little bit right on the edge of the grass as he plants his foot, and then that foot gives way and he loses a little bit of the velocity across there. McGriff does a nice job just to keep it in front of him, and Wilson's on with an error.
So Tony's been charged with an error, and that brings up Greg Jeffries, the second baseman. Jeffries called up to the Mets last year, played in 29 games, and really had the New York Met fans buzzing. He hit .321, 6 home runs, 17 RBIs, and really has nailed down that second base job for the Mets.
There's an interesting stat, the 107 spring training stat. Davey Johnson's a little concerned that Jeffries might be trying to hit a few too many home runs down here. Trying to pull the ball a little bit too much, going away from his strength. There's a toss to first. Wilson runs well. I tell you, with Wilson and Dykstra in center field, they've got good speed out there. Wilson stole 20 bases 7 years in a row, had that snap last year with 15.
Line to center field. Mosby coming in. He can't get to it. And bounces in front. Fires to Fernandez. So Wilson is at second. Jeffries on at first with a base hit.
There's no question about Jeffries' ability to hit. Nice breaking pitch. Watch him go right with it. His head stayed down on that ball. Mosby coming hard. He was playing awfully deep, and now he has to check up. Just knocks it down.
Did he get a late jump on that, Buck?
I don't think he picked it up real well, but this grandstands here at Grand Field is tough to pick the ball out of. That'll bring to the captain to the plate, Keith Hernandez.
Mosby in center field having the best spring training that I've ever seen him have. And I've been here for all of them for Mosby. Keith Hernandez at 35 years of age. Tailed off last year. Of course, he had a pulled hamstring and didn't play from June 6th on.
Hernandez really benefits from seeing a couple of pitches, and that's why he took those first 2 breaking pitches from Musselman. A very, very heady hitter. He gets in there, makes up his mind what's he want to do, looks at a lot of pitches, goes with the pitch, doesn't try to hit home run, puts the ball in play.
Here's the 1-1 pitch. Slap foul into the Blue Jay dugout. It's interesting, when Strawberry and Hernandez had that little tiff, it was camera day. They picked the best day. All the media were there, the public there with cameras.
They had all the photographers.
They had it covered.
2 television crews.
Yeah.
And Keith had said time and time again, Darryl, you sure you want to do this today? And he kept coming at him.
Slap to center field. Base hit. Mookie Wilson will come in to score. Heading for third. Now Gruber fires to try to get Hernandez, but he's safe. So Jeffries safe at third, Hernandez at second, 1-0. The Mets leading, nobody out.
Just when we had talked about how sound fundamentally the Blue Jays have played all spring long, Mosby makes a mistake on this. Watch this. Hernandez takes this ball, a breaking pitch. He just slaps it into right center. Now Mosby comes hard, but he'll miss the cutoff man trying to get Jeffries way over the cutoff man's head. Jeffries is safe at third. Now Gruber fires a second, but it's too late, and Hernandez is allowed to go to second base. That'll be a single, and then he goes to second on the throw to third. So the Mets tally early.
That'll bring up their big gun, Darryl Strawberry, at 6'6", 27 years of age. Led the National League in home runs last year with 39, 101 RBIs. Low and away for a ball. He carried this ball club last year. I don't think there's any doubt about that. His spring training numbers, not very good, but with Strawberry, that shouldn't bother anyone. Breaking ball a little high. 2 balls and no strikes.
When you mentioned the fact that he drove in 101 runs, what surprises me is he only hit 201 with runners in scoring position. If he gets that up to 250, he could drive in 150 runs.
Just 27 years of age. That pitch is high, so Musselman struggling here in this opening inning. Jeffries at third, Hernandez down at second.
20 of Strawberry's home runs came off left-handed pitchers last year. A big improvement over the past. There's ball 4.
4 straight balls. The bases are loaded for Kevin McReynolds. Jeffries down at third, Keith Hernandez at second, and of course Darryl Strawberry over at first. Kevin McReynolds, what a season he had last year. 99 runs batted in, hit 288, hit 27 home runs. Strawberry got all the fanfare, while McReynolds quietly went about putting all-star numbers up.
Musselman in a jam here. This is a good time for him to get that slider inside to McReynolds. McReynolds, a right-handed hitter, likes to extend his arms, likes that ball out over the plate.
Shallow center field. Mosby's got to come a long way. He's there, makes the play, the throw to the plate. Jeffries is sliding. Borders drops the ball, but Jeffries touches home plate and he's safe.
Jeffries has been hampered by a leg problem. You can see him limping away from home plate. It's been bothering him for the last week. He might have re-injured that right leg. Watch the throw by Mosby. Pretty good throw. Musselman jams McReynolds with a fastball. It's hit into shallow center field. Now Mosby sets up and throws a pretty good throw to home plate. Borders is in good position right up in front of the home plate area, but the ball takes a high bounce, and he never puts the glove on it. Jeffries got the bag the first time.
He sure did.
Larry Young, the home plate umpire, waits for him to touch it, but he hit it the first time by. 2 runs in for the Mets.
Now Gary Carter, the DH in this afternoon's ball game, steps in. With 1 down, the Mets leading 2-0. Carter, an off season last year. Just 242 with 11 home runs.
Well, he struggled for almost 3 months trying to get that third 300 career home run. He said, there's the skipper on this hot Saturday afternoon in Dunedin. He's seen his troops play outstanding baseball here in the Grapefruit League.
Carter went 86 days. Took him to get that home run. 225 at bats later.
There's Davey Johnson, winningest manager last 3 years. He's won 300 games. The Mets have averaged 97 wins in the last 5 years.
That slap foul down the right side.
Of all the hitters that took batting practice for the Mets, the one that Johnson watched more closely than anybody was Carter. He stood and watched him take all of his batting practice swings, and he said, hey, Gary, you got to stay back. Don't lunge at the ball. Don't try to force it to happen. Let it happen itself. There's Strawberry. Boy, what a talented lineup this is.
The Mets sure are worried about this man, Gary Carter. Can he bounce back this year? And right down to Liriano. He'll flip it to Fernandez for one. Double play. So a couple of hits by the New York Mets, an error by shortstop Tony Fernandez, and the Mets score a couple of runs here in the first inning. You're watching Labatt's Blue Jays baseball on TSN as Fernandez completes that double play. This morning when he had been replaced by Sid Fernandez and said, Skip, I'm ready to go today. So they sent Darling to the mound, and he finished up at 17-9 last year. The number 3 starter in that New York Mets staff, and how many number 3 starters win 17 games? That's exactly what he did. This is the lineup he'll be facing.
The new look lineup for the Blue Jays has Mosby in the leadoff spot, Kelly Gruber batting second. Tony Fernandez moves down to that third spot. Left fielder George Bell hit a home run yesterday against the Cincinnati Reds. Fred McGriff enjoying a good spring down here. Jesse Barfield has been struggling in spring training, has yet to really drive the ball. Grant Smoleniks is the DH. Pat Borders behind the plate, and Nelson Liriano will be at second base in that ninth.
The shaker, Lloyd Mosby, will lead it off for Toronto. McReynolds, Wilson, and Strawberry in the outfield. Howard Johnson, who's been bothered by shoulder problems, down at third. Elster, the shortstop. Jeffries at second. And the veteran and 11-time Gold Glove winner, Keith Hernandez, over at first. Barry Lyons doing the catching.
Mosby having a fine spring. He likes the fact that he can set the tone for the ball game. Get up there, run a little bit more, be a little more aggressive, and I think that's helped his play in the outfield. Just that mental attitude to be aggressive.
Well, I hear there's been lots of renewed interest in Lloyd Mosby as far as trades are concerned. Simply in fact the way he's played down here. Of course, you must remember he's on the last year of his contract. That might have something to do with it.
You think? That little incentive there?
I sure do. Well, the kind of money these players are playing for today, you got to go out there and hustle every day. Ground ball down to the second baseman, Jeffries. That'll bring up the third baseman, Kelly Gruber.
Kelly, you're enjoying an 11-game hitting streak. You hit your 4th home run yesterday. What do you think has been the big key to your hitting success this spring?
Well, I don't know. I'm just, I guess, basically going back to scratch. I didn't get to hit during the wintertime, so I knew I had my work cut out for me, and I was going from A to B to C. So I don't know whether I'm seeing the ball real well or just trying to hit the ball and they're making mistakes, and I'm doing something with the pitches once I get them. But certainly have a ways to go and hope to be ready by the time the bell rings.
Do you feel like you've made a mental adjustment batting in that second spot, aware that you have to give that leadoff batter a chance to steal a base?
Well, I haven't really been in a situation to do that yet this year, and I don't know how I'm going to handle it with certain counts, whether it's 0-2, 2-0, what Mo wants to do. We just have to play it by ear and see what happens. But certainly to me, it doesn't matter where I'm hitting the 7th, 8th, 9th, 1st, 2nd. Whatever the situation calls for out there, that's what I'm going to try to do. If it's get the man over, it doesn't matter whether you're 4th or 8th. You have a job to do, and that's what basically what I'm going to try to do.
That's the tune you're hearing from a lot of these Blue Jay players this year. I don't care where I hit, where I play. I just have a job to do.
Well, he hit in every position in the lineup last year.
Boy, he's really blossomed as a player. I tell you, you go around these National League teams in spring training, and most of the coaches will come up to you and say, hey, I know you got some good players, but the guy I really like on your team is Kelly Gruber. He can run, hit with power, outstanding defensively, has a strong arm, and all of a sudden it seems as though he understands the game of baseball.
A high chopper down to Howard Johnson, and he flips it across to Hernandez to get Gruber. Johnson, the player down at third that's been having problems with his shoulder, and Davey Johnson was telling me that he feels he's going to be all right, but he's a little concerned.
Well, Howard Johnson is really having trouble when he's got a lot of time to think about the throw. He had surgery on his shoulder. It basically is the cartilage underneath your shoulder socket that allows that arm to rotate smoothly. He had that repaired last year and has had some problems coming back from it. A lot of that is mental. When he gets the ball quickly and has to make a fine throw, a quick throw, he does all right.
Tony Fernandez. Tony just goes about his business very quietly here in spring training. Always down the sidelines, doing his different little tricks, whether it's with weights.
He wished he would have been unnoticed yesterday after Kelly Gruber hit that home run. Kent DeCalvi drilled Hernandez in the back, or Tony in the back of the legs. He was lifted for a pinch runner, but shows no effects of it today.
3 balls and a strike to Tony Fernandez. He'll be batting in the number 3 spot this year for manager Jimmy Williams. He slaps that one out to left field. McReynolds comes in, makes the play. 3 up, 3 down for the right-hander Ron Darling. And after 1, the Mets lead it 2-0. You're watching Labatt's Blue Jays baseball on TSN. The Mets, one of the most exciting teams in the game today. Johnson, Elster, and Lyons will face Jeff Musselman here in the 2nd inning, with the Mets leading 2-0. It's interesting. The Blue Jays made 3 cuts yesterday. They sent infielder Luis Sojo, Ed Sprague, and outfielder Kevin Batiste to the minor league camp for reassignment. There's been a lot of talk about Junior Felix making this ball club, Buck.
I think he's made this ball club. Just a matter of where he's going to play, where he fits in. He's had an outstanding spring training. When I say made it, that's just in my estimation, but I think he's earned it. There's Hojo's numbers in the spring. 192, yet to hit a homer. Well, he slumped last year in the National League Championship Series. 1 for 18.
He had lots of company. Line to left field. Bell, he's got it. George Bell has been very quiet so far in spring training this year. Quite a difference from last year.
You've qualified that statement very nicely. I talked to him about what you said about his goatee, how ugly it was. He said he's going to shave it off for opening day.
Now, you told me that you thought it was ugly. You put all the blame on me. That's what friends are for.
But he hit a big homer here yesterday against Tom Browning.
Kevin Elster, the shortstop. Elster played in 149 games. Just 214. Down to Fernandez. He bobbles it, gets it up, fires it across, and they get him. Good play by Tony Fernandez. 2 down.
Fernandez never gives up on this ball. He goes up the hole behind the bag at second. Watch how he really looks after that ball, trying to see where it is, gets on it quickly. And Elster has pretty good speed, but look how quickly Fernandez gets rid of it. Strong throw, another indication that he's all over those arm problems he's had in the past. Just gets Elster by a half step.
Frank Pulley's the umpire down at first. Larry Young at home. As that ball, a rope hit by catcher Barry Lyons down to Fernandez. 3 up, 3 down for the New York Mets. We head to the bottom of the 2nd. The Mets still leading 2-0. You're watching Labatt's Blue Jays baseball on TSN. For the Mets, retired the side in order in the 1st inning, and here in the 2nd, he'll face George Bell, Fred McGriff, and Jesse Barfield. 85 degrees here in Dunedin, and it has been a sensational week. We understand that things are pretty chilly up Toronto way. Not that you should be envious of all the Canadians, and there are some 600,000 in Florida for the spring break.
And they're all at the beach. When they're not at the ballpark, they're at the beach. Come on down, we're having a great time.
George Bell, who's having a pretty good spring training, a couple of home runs, 8 RBIs, hitting around 400. We noticed Tony Fernandez went into the clubhouse after that last throw he made on Lyons. I'm wondering if he hurt his arm at all, Buck.
Well, he made that off-balance throw on the ground ball that Elster hit the shortstop. Fernandez booted it and then had to make a sidearm flip. It didn't look like it bothered him at the time, but we'll have to wait and see. He went into the clubhouse after the inning. Darling shows you an awful lot, as Bell witnessed right there. A split-fingered fastball. He took something off. Darling has a fastball, curveball, changeup, slider, and a forkball. outstanding control. Only 60 walks in last year, 240 plus innings.
Bell slaps it out to the shortstop. Elster to Hernandez.
Kevin Elster, an outstanding glove man. They thought he'd hit a little bit more than he did last year. He hit .214. He showed some power, 9 homers, but they don't need an awful lot of punch from that shortstop position. They've got so much offense on the club. They need a guy like Elster who has the good glove and can make all the plays defensively.
It's interesting, Buck. You look at Elster and the rest of that New York Met infield. I think the Blue Jays have a better infield defensively.
Overall, they do. They have better athletes on the infield, in my mind.
Freddie McGriff, the hitter, to face Darling. McGriff with a couple of home runs, 10 RBIs in spring training. Other guy just shows up and goes about his business.
Talking about the defense, you compare the two. McGriff is good. He led All-American League first baseman in fielding last year, but I still got to give the nod to Hernandez. He's outstanding at first base.
11 gold gloves that man has won. I think McGriff will get a few of those.
Yeah, he will. He's got good hands. He likes to play out there. He enjoys it. And I think because he has so much power, people don't regard him as a good defensive first baseman.
Fouled back out of play. Don't forget, TSN presents the Buffalo Sabres, the Winnipeg Jets, Monday night at 8:30 Eastern Time. The Sabres and the Jets right here, TSN. Don't forget, we'll be back next Saturday. The Cardinals and the Blue Jays from St. Petersburg. Two balls, 2 strikes to Fred McGriff.
There's that split finger pitch just missing outside. Darling is always around the plate. He really works on hitters' weaknesses. He knows that he's going to throw a lot of strikes, and he comes right at the hitter. There's another one, just caught the corner.
Sure did. That's Darling's first strikeout.
Watch the movement of this ball away from McGriff. It's a split finger fastball. It's got a little bit of a change of speed, but watch how it moves to the outside part of the plate. Barry Lyons did a nice job receiving that ball, and Fred McGriff is caught looking.
Jesse Barfield, the hitter, as McGriff and Cito Gaston, the Blue Jays hitting coach, discuss that one. Davey Johnson, before the game, was asking about Barfield. Asking how that wrist was. Who knows, there might be some interest in Barfield. But you look at that Blue Jay outfield, all 3 are 29. The question is, can Barfield bounce back after an off-season last year? And that off-season, of course, can be attributed to the operation he had on his wrist.
But he sure hasn't shown that he's laying off that high fastball. It's caused him problems the last 2 years, and this spring he's continued to chase it. There's that split finger pitch inside. Jesse really hasn't driven the ball. He's hit a couple doubles down here, but he hasn't really hit it on the nose the way we've seen in the past. I think if anybody on the club the Blue Jays may have concern is, it's over Barfield.
I agree.
That's that pitch right there that even though it was a 3-0 count, Barfield went after a pitch that he can't handle.
Boy, Darling blew that one by him, didn't he?
He's a master out there. He went upstairs 3-0, went to Barfield's weakness, and then he came back to the outside corner. Outstanding control. I tell you, when you've got a number 3 starter like Darling, you've got a strong staff.
Rip foul. Pass McLaren, coaching at third. He turned in that one. As you look down on the Blue Jay bullpen, we'll have to give the bullpen an error on that one.
Big Tom Henke, he doesn't field very well. A whole lot of balls aren't hit off him when he pitches, though.
Hit deep to left center field as the center fielder Wilson turns. Kiss it goodbye. A 2-1 ball game as Barfield hits his first spring training home run this season.
Well, Darling fell behind 3-0, and then on a full count, Jesse Barfield connects for the long ball. And we've been talking about that. Barfield hadn't driven the ball until that pitch right there. And you can see that he's nodding in a little bit more confidence, saying, there it is. That's the swing I've been looking for.
Well, if Davy Johnson was asking about Barfield before the game, he's got his answer right now as Mullenix takes a pitch outside. Another look at that swing by Barfield.
This ball is a little bit down in the strike zone. He really got extended through the hitting area there.
Evens up the count at 1-1 to Rance.
If Davy Johnson makes a deal for Barfield, where is he going to fit him in that outfield? He's got
That's a good question.
and Strawberry right and left, both MVP candidates. And he's got a couple of platoon players in center. Barfield, I wouldn't think, could play center as well as Wilson or Dykstra. I don't know what he'd do with Barfield if he made a trade. Maybe we could get McReynolds or Strawberry in the deal.
Not likely.
You don't think?
You know, everywhere you go down here, people are saying, well, what do you think?
Oh,
Will
yeah.
Pat Gillick make a deal?
Only Pat Gillick knows that. He's talking with a lot of people. Everybody's in the same boat right now.
You know what's happening, though, Buck? The stock is going up every day. You know, you see the injuries that are taking place. St. Louis's pitching staff has been decimated practically. Strawberry calls off Jeffries and makes the third out off Mullenix. So Barfield gets his first home run, and through 2 innings here in Dunedin, it's 2-1, the New York Mets leading. You're watching Labatt's Blue Jays baseball on TSN. Okay, who knows? Maybe he just had to go to the bathroom. Is this the best defense in baseball?
In my mind, the infield defense is the best. When you got McGriff, the regular second baseman is Manny Lee, Tony Fernandez at shortstop, and Kelly Gruber. There's a look at Fred McGriff. He led all American League fielders in defense last year. Has an outstanding arm, good range, and a very soft glove over there. Picks those balls out of the dirt. Liriano is comparable to Manny Lee. I think you could put either one of them in there, and they would be part of that best infield. Fernandez, Gold Glove shortstop. In my mind, he's the best in baseball. Can do so many things. This guy right here, Kelly Gruber, has improved so much. I think he has more range and a stronger arm than any third baseman in the American League.
Mookie Wilson, the leadoff hitter. Fly ball, center field. Mosby is going back. He's got it. You know, if you look, go back to the infield again for a moment, Buck. If you look at Howard Johnson, the third baseman for the Mets, he's 28. Kelly Gruber's 27. In my mind, you've got to take Gruber over Johnson. Shortstop, Elster's 24. Fernandez, sure, Tony's 26, but there's no question about that matchup. At second base, you got Liriano and Lee. They're both 24, 23. Tuffle, who probably won't even play. That shot is hit foul by Greg Jeffries.
Strictly on a defensive basis, I don't think there's any comparison between the two. The big edge goes to the Mets at first base for Hernandez, but the rest of the infield, I think, is strongly in the Blue Jays' favor. Jeffries just jerked that ball foul. Interesting story about Jeffries. His father worked with him as a youngster. He really understands the art of hitting, has had some very unique hitting drills. He hits in a pool with a sawed-off bat. Hernandez's father, John Hernandez, talked with Greg Jeffries' father about hitting a lot. They're both from the same town, San Mateo in California, and both of the fathers have always sat down and talked a lot about hitting. So I'm sure that Jeffries watched Keith as he grew up and patterned himself.
Mosby in center field, back to the warning track. He one-hands that one. 2 down. Well, the old shaker is doing a little dancing out there in center field here in spring training. He's kind of having fun, isn't he, for a change?
Mosby appears to be ready for a big season. You know, it was just 2 years ago that Mosby drove in 96 runs. He's playing with an awful lot of enthusiasm out there.
Hernandez takes a pitch low. Musselman still on the mound. He has given up a couple of hits, a couple of runs.
You know, it always baffles me how people will get on Hernandez, say he doesn't have any power. 15 years, 2,100 hits, 300 lifetime average. I'll take that anytime. Boy, he's a great clutch hitter as well.
Who was the best pitcher last year in the National League?
David Cohn. And he's on this
What
Mets
about
staff.
Hershiser? Let's say it was Hershiser. I mean, Hernandez hit 500 off him throughout the season.
That's right. Hershiser.
I mean, Hershiser's the guy that did it all last year. Cohn had a great record.
Broke Drysdale's scoreless inning pitch. But that tells you about Hernandez's ability to study and concentrate. When he's up against a tough pitcher, he really digs in. Hershiser's a tough pitcher, but Hernandez was in such a good mental frame of mind that he wore him out.
Darryl Strawberry, he walked in the first inning. 2-1, Mets leading. Top of the third inning.
One thing you don't want to do is give up 2 out walks to get to Strawberry. I mentioned earlier that Strawberry hit 39 home runs last year. 20 of them came against left-handers. That shows you that he's finally becoming very patient at the plate. Going with the pitch, realizing he doesn't have to pull the ball, and staying on left-handers longer. He can hit the ball out any part of the field, anywhere. He hit a ball back almost out of the Mets ballpark, Shea Stadium up in New York. About 450 feet.
Only player in the league who's been in the 20 home run, 20 steal club 5 years in a row. With Strawberry, though, you never know what to expect when he shows up at the ballpark. No question, he can play the game.
How would you like to see a guy like that play with Robin Yount's intensity, or Jim Gantner's intensity? Gorman Thomas, old Milwaukee Brewer. Somebody that
You
had
need
that
a
kind of
sledgehammer
ability.
to stop him.
Oh, man. A couple pretty good first basemen right there. The old and the young.
He's jammed. Now Gruber will fire across to McGriff to get Strawberry. So the Mets, Keith Hernandez stranded down at second. As we head to the bottom of the third, still 2-1 New York leading. You're watching Labatt's Blue Jays baseball on TSN. Right here, Jimmy Williams survived the winter by winning more games over the last 3 years than any other manager in baseball except Davey Johnson, who's on the other side of the diamond, and Sparky Anderson. So there was a lot of controversy about whether the Blue Jays would be bringing Jimmy back.
I think they sent the right message to the players. They signed Jimmy quickly after the World Series and said, hey, he's our manager, just come in ready to play. And boy, the players have responded well. And Jimmy very relaxed, having a good spring. And I think that's going to be a good sign for the rest of the...
What was interesting, I think, Buck, is I think Blue Jay management knew they made some mistakes last spring, possibly by not suspending Bell and maybe not giving Jimmy Williams the complete backing.
Or else not moving him in the first place.
Yep.
Whatever it is, they put all that behind them, and they're ready to make a bid for the championship this year. Pat Borders is having a nice spring.
They say fundamentally about Jimmy Williams that he's as good as any in the game.
He's an outstanding instructor. He can really teach and loves to teach. He's out here working all the time.
I'll tell you, I for one am glad they brought him back. Borders hits that one down the line, and he'll head down to second. Pat Borders, a young man who continues to swing a hot bat here in spring training. And Buck, you mentioned on our last telecast you thought that maybe sometime this year he might be the everyday catcher.
Well, I think Borders has progressed so well, not only with the bat as you look at this double down the left field line, but behind the plate. He's much more relaxed. That stint in winter ball this year really gave him some confidence as far as throwing, catching the ball, and handling pitchers. He's not too far away from being an everyday player.
Nelson Liriano lays a bunt down. Hernandez will tag him, but on the play, Borders moves on down to third. So a good play by Liriano to advance the runner.
That's the type of baseball the Blue Jays have been playing all spring long. Very unselfish. And Liriano, although he was bunting for a base hit, still sacrificed himself enough to get the ball on the right side of the infield and move Borders over to third. The ball is bunted in the air. Darling broke towards the third base bag. He had third base on his mind. Hernandez takes it, puts the tag on Liriano, but Borders moves over to third. I tell you, a lot of players on this team have that team concept in mind this spring.
Well, I think that has a lot to do with Jimmy Williams. I know that he wrote all the players or phoned them, but spoke to every player that was coming to spring training and sort of told them all the responsibilities, told them what he expected from them.
You know, and that's not so unusual. If you were in business, you'd want to communicate to your employees the same way. Hey, here's what I expect of you. Come to spring training ready to do that, and we'll all have a much easier time of it.
Mosby grounded out in the first inning. Borders at third.
Mosby's in a hole right here, 0-2, but he has a chance to drive in a run with a ground ball. The infield is playing back. Everyone but Johnson at third is deep. There's a look at Johnson on the grass. Elster, the shortstop, is deep. Second baseman Jeffries and Hernandez on the right side are all conceding the run, so all Mosby has to do is put it in play on the ground. He'll tie up this game.
A ball and 2 strikes to the shaker. You know, the Blue Jays winning 22 of their last 29 games last year, really that, I think, set the table for what's to come this season. I think that'll just keep on rolling, and the Blue Jays, to me, look like they're a lock to win the East Division this year.
Well, I don't
barring injuries.
I don't think the players will say they're a lock. They should win it. I think the history of the team indicates that they're not taking anything for granted. You think back to '85 when they thought they were going to the World Series with a 3-1 edge over the Royals. Then in '86 they said, well, we're going to win it this year. They ended up finishing well out of it. So I think the Blue Jays are going to take it, that old phrase, one day at a time, and see what happens.
He went after a bad pitch.
Boyd Darling just painted the corner on Mosby upstairs. When Mosby was trying to get a ground ball, Darling went for the strikeout or pop-up by coming with the high fastball. It's a tough pitch to get on top of. Watch how Mosby has to go upstairs, tries to get on top of it, but Darling really does a nice job of pitching to Lloyd Mosby.
Now Kelly Gruber. Gruber grounded out to Howard Johnson, the third baseman. High chopper to the shortstop. Elster, the long throw. Gruber doesn't get there in time. So Darling gets out of a jam, and the Mets still lead it 2-1. You're watching Labatt's Blue Jays baseball on TSN. Won their division by 15 games. They could easily be the best team the past 10 or 15, maybe 20 years.
Johnson has never finished lower than second place. So, and he's never been named manager of the year. That's kind of odd, but I guess most of the people that vote for those kinds of things looks at the talent on his club and says, well, anybody could win with this.
You know, I looked at their record last year, Buck, and even though they won 100 games, for a 3-month period, they were 41-41. And played 500 ball. As you look at the Mets bullpen.
This is pressure of spring training, folks. This is pretty tough. There's Dykstra laying down there. I tell you, they try to relax and get the edge off down here in the spring. It looks like the Mets have done a pretty good job of it, huh?
Kevin McReynolds. That first pitch was low for a ball from Musselman. Pops that up. Fernandez out into shallow center field. You know, as you look back to that playoff between the Dodgers and the Mets last year, Buck, I thought that was the biggest upset that I have seen in many, many years. Maybe you could go all the way back to the first Liston Ali fight.
Well, the Mets certainly had all the horses. The Dodgers had the heart, maybe. They wanted to win it.
The Dodgers won it on emotion. A little looper down that right field line hit by Gary Carter. It's a fair ball. And Carter just jogs down to first base. Not a very healthy Gary Carter these days.
Well, he's been bothered by some knee problems. You know, I talked to him. He said last year he worked so hard to come into camp and have a good year. that maybe he forced himself a little bit. Here's a look at this swing. It's not patented Gary Carter by any means. Just a little fly ball off the end of the bat that managed to stay in fair territory. Barfield comes a long ways, and it just falls kind of quietly in the right field corner. Not the type of hit that you're used to seeing Gary Carter collect.
There's Howard Johnson. That pitch is a little low. They say that Johnson will be traded this year. Remains to be seen, of course. A few teams interested. I think the one deal that is probably still alive as far as the Blue Jays are concerned is the Mark Langston deal with Seattle. I know the Blue Jays are very interested in getting Langston. You know, whether the deal is ever made, who knows, but you know, he's one guy that you could use on anybody's pitching staff.
Everybody's trying to package a deal for Langston. You know, we talked in the first inning about Musselman following through with that hard slider. And he talked to me earlier in the spring about how happy he was with the development of the strength coming back in that shoulder area where he could really pull through and throw that hard slider. It's so important for him to pitch to right-handed hitters like Johnson to follow through and get that slider inside. There it is right there.
Base hit, left field.
Carter goes down to second. But Borders had set up inside for Johnson, and they didn't get the ball inside far enough. Johnson can turn on anybody's fastball. It looked like that they went with the slider, but just didn't get it inside.
A closer look at Pat Borders, a young man that has certainly come a long way in the last year and a half.
Well, this is where Borders really has to take command of Musselman. Go out there and really put down some signs and have confidence in what he's calling. Elster's the batter, the shortstop.
Hernandez will go for two to Liriano for one. As Elster is safe at first. So on the play, Carter moves on down to third.
Fernandez did a good job just to get the force out here. Watch as Elster pounds this ball in the hole. Fernandez has the ability to go far to his right, get in front of the ball, and now make the flip throw to second to force the runner. Liriano releases quickly to first, but Elster has good enough speed to beat it out.
That'll bring up the catcher, Barry Lyons, in a 2-1 ball game with two down here in the fourth inning. Lyons grounded out to Fernandez in the second inning, hitting .231 last season.
He's a hot hitter this spring. Came into this game batting .400, trying to make the bid for that backup spot behind Carter.
Good defensively. Started just 14 games in the Mets last year. He's in his third season.
There's one time coming that Carter won't be able to get behind that plate anymore, and Barry Lyons wants to make sure that everybody notices that he can do an adequate job.
Ground ball, Fernandez flips it to Liriano, and they get the force in Elster. So we head to the bottom of the fourth inning. It is still 2-1. The New York Mets leading the Toronto Blue Jays. You're watching Labatt's Blue Jays baseball on TSN. Uck's crystal ball. Wow,
there it is.
You're
right
laying
there.
odds and everything.
Well, you know, you got to put a little color into this thing.
I like the odds in Oakland. I think they're a cinch. The Blue Jays, I
pretty
like
close
the odds.
to even.
I'll tell you what they had the Blue Jays about a month ago in Las Vegas. They were 9-2 at Caesars Palace to win it all.
Well, I wouldn't know that because I don't frequent those
that's
places.
what I heard. Milwaukee, I like Milwaukee to finish second, but I do think it's between Milwaukee and Detroit. But I think Detroit's going to surprise a lot of people this year.
Well, they're not going to surprise me. You can see I got him right up to the top. But I tell you, Milwaukee's got some good news. Higuera threw 20 minutes off the mound the other day, coming back from back surgery.
They say he's going to be ready opening day.
He wants to pitch opening day. Rest of the division, you can see up and down. I think the Yankees are really going to struggle this year. I think they're going to be way down there, just finishing ahead of Baltimore because Baltimore's running out of people in the West.
I don't like Texas in the West Division to finish fourth. I think they might finish a little higher up. Well, they've made a lot of deals.
They're going to play better than Kansas City and Minnesota?
I think they've got a chance. Well, that's just my opinion.
That's highly regarded too, Ferg. Everybody
Only by
has
me.
one.
Only by
Everybody
me.
has one.
Fernandez, yep. He lined out to McReynolds back in the first inning. 2 balls and a strike. You've got Detroit at 5-1 and Boston at 5-1. I think you might need a search warrant to find Boston with no Bruce Hurst.
But you see, that's what I don't understand about odds. To me, that's a long shot, considering that. I mean, you would know more about that than I do, but I just got them 5-1 because I don't think they got a chance.
You're a beauty, I'll tell you.
But, you know, I don't think they can even come close. That's why I got them down there in the bottom. But I think it's going to be Toronto, Milwaukee. And I think, like you, that Sparky Anderson's going to have that Tiger Club up there. They'll be in the middle of it.
Ground ball up the middle. Backhanding it is Jeffries. The throw, and Fernandez is safe.
Keith thought he had him. Boy, one thing Hernandez did on that play is you look at Jeffries. Jeffries not used to that type of play, being a natural third baseman. Watch how quickly he gets rid of it. But now notice how Hernandez stays on the bag with his foot. He stretches high up there and just anchors himself. He thinks he's got Fernandez. Frank Pulley called him out, the first base umpire from the National League. Let's take a look at it from this angle. Now watch Fernandez as he comes across the bag. Hernandez stays on the bag. Right there, bang, bang, pretty close. I think Pulley went by sound, but a pretty good play by Greg Jeffries.
The batter is George Bell.
Score that, a base hit.
Bell grounded out to Elster back in the second inning. George came into this game hitting .400 today. Numbers from last year. 24 home runs, still had 97 RBIs, and all you Blue Jay fans who watched Bell last year, you know it wasn't a good year. But any player in the game would take those numbers. He went 1 week where he made 7 errors.
And then made a crucial one when he came in the dugout and got in an argument with Jimmy Williams. That was the biggest error of the week.
You know, and it's interesting. If you look back at the last 54 games of the season, Bell never made an error. He had 15 errors after 110 games. Oh, he ripped that one foul down into the bullpen.
Darling got that pitch up in his eyes, and he jumped all over it. Hitting it down there.
That's a tough way to spend an afternoon, isn't it?
Dwayne Ward, Todd Stottlemyre got the day off, just kicking back, getting some sun. Tom Henke down there. Wardo hasn't been out in the sun too much this spring, has he? Looks like he's dusted himself with some powder down there.
I noticed before the game today, Buck, that Todd Stottlemyre spent about 15 minutes in the Blue Jay dugout with his father, Mel, who's the pitching coach for the Mets.
There's Todd just on the right side, Dwayne Ward. Ernie Witt waving to all his fans in Canada.
Ernie was saying to me today, I said, Ernie, I hardly ever see you play here in Dunedin. He says, you got that right. He said, I've been playing all the road games. I said, what's the skip mad at you? He says, I hope not. So the veteran Ernie Witt gets to do all the traveling in spring training. I don't know, is that a good sign or a bad sign, Buck?
Oh, I think it's just the luck of the draw. His name comes up whenever that bus is headed out of Dunedin. Rance Mullenix is just the opposite. He hadn't made a trip all spring.
2 balls and 2 strikes to George Bell. Foul down the left side.
Bell's having a pretty good look at Darling this at bat. You know, they were concerned about Bell not arriving till the 1st of March. He wasn't required to arrive. He had some charity work down in Dominican. He was going to be late. He told Jimmy Williams he was going to be late. I don't worry about a guy like Bell. He knows what it takes to get himself ready. And he goes out and does all his extra work. He'll be ready come opening day.
Fly ball, shallow center field. Mookie Wilson is there. 1 down. Well, as soon as, you know, we all heard that Bell wasn't going to report to the 1st of March, you say, oh, no, here we go again. The press, I think, tried to make something out of it, and they didn't succeed because nobody was talking.
No, I don't think anybody was concerned about it, especially the players. They know what George goes through every day, get himself ready. He takes a lot of ground balls, takes his extra hitting, does his work, does his running.
McGriff struck out in the second inning. A 2-1 ball game here, bottom of the fourth, the Mets leading.
Fernandez goes back to the bank. Darling doesn't have an outstanding delivery to the plate, trying to curtail the stolen base attempts, but he is quick to first.
Line to center field. Wilson, he won't get there. It's a base hit for Big Fred McGriff. So Fernandez at second, McGriff at first with one down, and the hitter will be Jesse Barfield. Barfield homered in his last at bat.
Here's a good look at one of the better young hitters in the league. He took that sinking fastball away from him and just slapped it into center field. McGriff is really getting an understanding of how to be patient at the plate, look for pitches, and when you get a pitch on the outside part of the plate, just drive it that way. Don't try to pull it. Fernandez at second, McGriff over at first.
Pitch is high and inside. Jesse, the all-time Blue Jay home run hitter with 174. He's one player who might not be happy to see the Dome in Toronto. Looking up some numbers, I see where he's got a .220 lifetime average in Dome stadiums. Let's hope that doesn't carry over.
Or else they keep the roof open.
4 hits for the Mets, 4 for the Blue Jays. A ball and a strike to Jesse. Oh, that hit him, and he is upset. Barfield going out to the mound. They've got to hold him back. Look out, both benches empty. Well, I'll tell you what, I don't remember ever seeing Jesse Barfield do that.
Well, I don't think there's no reason for Barfield to be upset on that pitch.
He's already been hit once this spring training.
Darling is certainly not going to hit anybody in the hip with a ball if he was trying to hurt somebody. Boy, there's a group of players out on that field, aren't there? Look at that big mess of players. Take a look at this. It's hard to tell, but if you're going to try to hurt somebody, you're not going to throw it down there on his hip. It catches Barfield in the elbow, and now he's going to go right out to Darling. Darling, remember, has outstanding control.
Actually, you know, Buck, it has been the third time because he's been hit, I know, just above his wrist, the one he had operated on.
Larry Young, the home plate umpire, grabbing a hold of Darling.
Young's a pretty tough customer, isn't he?
Yeah, and there's another good camera shot. Barfield saying, "What are you doing?"
Lyons, the Met catcher. Look at the hold he's got on Barfield.
Look at big Fred McGriff getting right next to Darling, saying, "Now you just stand still." And Kelly Gruber comes over there. Darling has no intent on his mind at all. Barfield was pretty upset by the whole thing.
So the bases are loaded. One down. Mullenix the hitter. Pitch is low for a ball.
Boy, this is just like regular season,
I'll
isn't
say
it?
it is.
Gets the old blood flowing.
Well, you look at these lineups.
I want to know how those guys got out of the bullpen so quickly. They had laying down on the grass and everything, and all of a sudden you got 50-some ball players out there.
Fans are loving it, too. I'll tell you. Mullenix went around. Evens it up with a ball and a strike.
The thing that might be suspicious is the fact that that Darling has outstanding control. He only walked 60 guys last year, and then he plunks Barfield after Barfield hit a home run back in the second inning.
Pickoff attempt down at second base. McGriff is back.
I certainly can't understand why Darling would want to hit Barfield. It's spring training. There's no message to send. They don't face each other in the regular season. Now, that has happened before between teams in the same league where you don't want a guy to get too comfortable off you, but Barfield won't see Darling again until possibly in the World Series. A
ground ball down to Jeffries. He'll go to Elster for one. as Barfield, a nice job breaking up that double play. The run scores, Fernandez scores, it's a tie ball game.
Darling was visibly upset by the fact that the Mets didn't turn that double play. He thought that they should have turned that into a double play. Mullinex, not a good speedy runner, and it looks like it should be double play all the way. Watch Barfield bearing down on Elster, the shortstop.
Oh, that's
Elster knows it too, and he had plenty of time to relay to first base. Elster kind of bailed out of there, thinking that Barfield was still hot over getting hit by the pitch. But Darling felt Elster should have turned it, and he certainly voiced his opinion on the mound.
Pat Borders, the hitter. Tied up at 2, bottom of the 4th inning. They look for the appeal. They get it. It's a strike. Frank Pulley. 4 hits for the Mets, 4 for the Blue Jays. A tie ball game. Outside.
Borders with a double down the left field line, his first at bat. 5 homers last year.
It's no question. You look at our catching staff of the Blue Jays, and he's got the best arm. Chopped in front of the plate. They've got to hurry. Darling turns, throws it. Oh, what a play by Ron Darling. Great play.
He's an outstanding athlete. Look at, he's upset about that double play. He thinks that they should have turned that double play and save him a run. He'll have something to say some more. But watch this outstanding play. Borders runs well. Darling really quick off the mound. He's going to barehand it and then flip to Hernandez. What an outstanding play. Borders is out easily. Darling saves himself a run on that play. But the Blue Jays tie it. And after 4 complete innings, we've got a tie game, 2-2. You're watching Labatt's Blue Jays baseball on TSN.
Darling in the corner of the Met dugout. Just had a cup of water poured over his head by the trainer.
Pretty exciting inning. He hit Barfield. Both benches empties. There were no punches thrown, but then he gets a ground ball off the bat of Mullinex, which looked like it could be an inning-ending double play. They didn't turn it. Blue Jays tied it up with a fielder's choice.
It's interesting, we had the camera on him from the time he left the mound and really didn't say much when he got into the dugout.
Well,
it's the most talking he's done right there.
He was upset that they didn't turn that double play. And then he makes a fine defensive play on a little chopper off the bat of Pat Borders to end the inning, save himself another run as McGriff was on third base.
Well, here we are, the 5th inning at Grant Field in Dunedin, and Mookie Wilson will lead it off for the Mets, followed by Jeffries and Keith Hernandez. Jeff Musselman still on the mound. He has allowed 4 hits. 2 runs, both came in the first inning. Wilson started it off when Fernandez made an error at short. And then Jeffries and Keith Hernandez, back-to-back singles.
That one really got away from Musselman. And I don't know that maybe Musselman was supposed to knock Wilson down. Watch how far outside this was. The location was okay, but it was the wrong side of the plate. Jimmy Williams always tries to protect his players, and if he thinks that Darling was thrown at Barfield intentionally, he'd have Musselman come right back and retaliate. But
would he do it with Wilson, or would he wait for Strawberry?
If I was Musselman, I'd do it to Wilson and not Strawberry. Wilson's a lot smaller than Strawberry. There's the skipper. I'm sure. You know, yesterday, Fernandez got hit with a pitch after Gruber hit a home run.
3-1 now, the count to Mookie Wilson.
Williams keeping a close eye on Musselman. Of course, with his history of arm problems, Al Whitmore, the pitching coach, sitting next to him. And it's a hot day here today. This is the first real hot day we've had. They'll watch closely as Musselman continues to
line right at Fernandez.
Hit on the nose right at Tony Fernandez. You can see he's laughing about it because he was handcuffed. Well, Wilson jumps all over this pitch, and it's, oh, I better catch this one. And it catches him right in the pocket of that glove. Watch him take his hand out there and shake it. Look at him laughing. Man, was that hit. Look at him shaking that blood black back into his fingers. But that caught him squarely in the palm of his glove.
Greg Jeffries, the second baseman. Singled the first inning, flied out in the third. Another sellout at Grant Field today.
I think Musselman's running out of gas. He's not following through the way he was earlier in the ball game. We had talked about the way he followed through with his sliders. You look at the big full house, standing room only crowd here at Grant Field.
High chopper, Fernandez. 2 down.
Williams and Widmar will watch closely as Musselman continues to work. They'd like him to go 6 innings today. If he can get a quick out here, I'm sure he'll come back for the 6th.
Uncle Al Widmar was telling me a story the other day, because every March, of course, it's his birthday, but it usually takes him 3 weeks to celebrate it. He says no matter, he's been in Florida for so many years now, over 50 years, that no matter where he goes, they remember his birthday. Not quite the date, he said, but everybody knows it's in March. Keith Hernandez fouls that one out of play.
You know, when we saw the lineups of these two ball clubs today with most of the regulars, we knew it'd be a good game. Hernandez was bothered by hamstring pull last year. He missed 6 weeks of the season, felt he came back a little bit too early, and that leg problem really causes you a lot of agony in that you can't drive at the plate.
Down to Gruber, a leaping catch. What an athlete.
And we talked about that great athletic ability at third base, and Kelly Gruber just took away a possible double from Keith Hernandez with great jumping ability. Both Gruber and Manny Lee can really jump. Outstanding shot right there as Gruber takes a hit away from Hernandez.
It's still tied at 2. We head to the bottom of the 5th. Another look. Makes it look easy, doesn't he? You're watching Labatt's Blue Jays baseball on TSN. He is enjoying this afternoon at Grant Field in Dunedin. And, oh, I'll tell you what, we wish you're all here. She's happy to be here, isn't she? I think there's a lot of other people that are happy that she's here.
Having a nice Labatt's down there, huh? Good day for a blue in the hot stands.
Nelson Liriano will lead it off. Oh, it's interesting. I don't care where you go down here. You run into Canadians who are asking about the Blue Jays. First pitch was a ball. Ron Darling here in the bottom of the 5th. That's hit to right center. Wilson going back. He won't get to it. Liriano will have a double. There, he's going to try for 3. And he's got it easily. Elster couldn't hang on to that relay.
We talked about Liriano being a great athlete himself, trying to impress Jimmy Williams to put him on this club. Leadoff triple. He hammers it into right center. Goes all the way to the wall. Now, what's the relay that the Mets put on here? This is something you try to work on in spring training, and the Mets failed it right here, and it cost him a triple. Wilson's ball should be to the cutoff man, Elster, the shortstop. It's over his head, bounces in front of Jeffries. He can't come up with it, and Liriano slides into third, anticipating a throw. But, in fact, the cutoff was botched, and he's got a leadoff triple.
Al Lloyd Mosby checks his swing. He's 0 for 2, grounded out and struck out in this game.
Remember last time in this situation, Mosby had a runner at third base. Darling won the matchup with a strikeout, got him to go after a high fastball. Mosby can score a run if he takes a ground ball up the middle.
A little high in that fastball.
The defense on the corners, Howard Johnson at third base, Hernandez at first base, will probably come to the plate on a ground ball. Mosby trying to put it in play with nobody out and the runner at third.
Fly ball, left center field, will drop in, and it'll go to the wall for extra bases. Liriano scores. There goes Mosby motoring for third. The relay, the shaker is there. What intensity he is playing with, Buck.
Mosby has been outstanding all spring long. That's his 4th triple already in the spring, and he just wants to go to left center to try to get that run across. And what happens is he stays on the ball and drives it up the alley in left center. McReynolds has to go all the way to the wall. They put on a pretty good relay here as he gets it quickly to Elster, but Mosby's great speed beats the throw into the bag at third. Good camera shot right there as Mosby slides into third safely. RBI and triple for the center fielder.
Jimmy Marshall is with us today, directing. Our producer, Tom McKee. Michael Lansbury, who usually does the Blue Jay games, is not with us today. Weekend off. He's on the hockey trail for TSN. Kelly Gruber. Low and inside.
Now Davy Johnson has brought the infield in with Gruber batting. Nobody out. Mosby at third base. Defensively, the infield's on the grass. They'll try to cut off the runner at the plate. Looking for that ground ball on the infield.
3-2, the Blue Jays leading the Mets. Bottom of the 5th inning.
You know, it's important when you bring your infield in that the pitcher pitches to that defense. Darling wants to try to throw sinkers and breaking pitches down in the strike zone to get Gruber to hit a ground ball. It doesn't do you any good if you bring the infield defense in and then the pitcher throws high fastballs and allows the batter to hit fly balls. The object of this defense is to get the pitcher to throw sinker balls and have the batter beat it into the ground so you can cut off the run at the plate. In this situation with nobody out, Mosby, the runner at third, will have to make sure the ball goes through the infield. They will not gamble with nobody out. Good off-speed pitch.
Two balls and 2 strikes to Kelly Gruber.
With no outs.
Fernandez in the on-deck circle.
With no outs, you don't want to gamble. You got to make sure that that ground ball's through the infield.
Chopped right at the shortstop. Elster, he checks Liriano, then fires to Hernandez to get Gruber. 1 down.
Darling did his job. Mosby had to hold up at third. Now the thinking changes a little bit. With Darling on the mound and Fernandez the batter. If Fernandez should hit a ground ball and there's any kind of trajectory to it, if it's a high bounding ball, Mosby will try to beat the throw to the plate. The defense continues to play in for Fernandez. Fernandez is thinking fly ball. Darling is thinking ground ball or strikeout.
Fly ball to right field. That should score Mosby. Strawberry, the right fielder, lines it up. He's got a good arm. Here comes the throw. And it is cut off by Hernandez, and Strawberry didn't even try. Don't forget, at the end of this game, we'll bring you the TSN Turning Point, brought to you by Converse, and Mosby's triple, if this score should stand up, might be that particular play. We'll have to wait and see.
All Stars, all you need.
The batter is George Bell. 2 down. Blue Jays leading 4-2. You know, we're talking about the Mets pitching staff having the best pitching staff in baseball. I mean, where it really showed up, I thought, was in the championship series, the Dodgers and the Mets, and it was the Dodgers who beat the Mets at their own game at pitching.
With outstanding pitching.
If you look at the Mets record, they had the lowest staff ERA. They didn't have a single pitcher all year with an ERA above 3.25. On the other hand, the Blue Jays had 7 pitchers over 3.25. Key, Flanagan, Eichhorn, Ward, Wells, Stottlemyre, and Clancy.
Well, you got to attribute half of an ERA point to the DH in the American League. But still, that's an impressive figure for an entire staff to be below 3.25. And Darling was the worst.
George Bell away out in front. Hits it over to that smaller diamond.
You know, we've talked about Darling. Fernandez was supposed to start here. You've got Doc Gooden, who's only 23 years old, won 91 games so far. David Cohn, 20-3 last year, and didn't get into the rotation until May when Rick Aguilera went down with an injury. Bob Ojeda seems to be okay after that accident last year where he cut part of his finger off on his pitching hand with a hedge trimmer.
I see Jim Clancy's doing a pretty good job for Houston in spring training.
He sure is. He's doing a nice job.
He's had 3 or 4 outings.
Several strikeouts.
He leads the Grapefruit League in strikeouts. Now let's hope he does well. Pops it up. Howard Johnson over along the fence. And he will not get to it.
Looks like there's some concern for a fan as Elster and Johnson look into the seats. Jim McKean, the umpire. Hopefully no one got hurt with that foul ball. Yeah.
Oh, boy.
A young fella got plunked on the side of the head.
One thing about it, you got to keep the old eyes peeled here at spring training. He'll get an autographed baseball before this afternoon's out, I would think. One of the most touching and poignant moments, I think, took place the other day with Tony Fernandez. Remember, there was a youngster in a wheelchair and was yelling for Tony, who was in the on-deck circle, and Tony had a bat in his hands, and he stopped everything right there, walked over, gave the youngster a bat, and told him that he couldn't sign an autograph form right now, but that he would come back after the game and do it, and he did. And I don't know how many people were watching, but I think everybody in the stands had their eyes glued on Tony Fernandez. And this young lad who could hardly talk, you could almost see the tears running down his cheeks. Bell lines it to left field. It's going to drop in there as McReynolds goes deep to the corner, and Bell has a long single.
There's another example of how valuable Kevin McReynolds is. That looked like an easy double off the end of the bat. George Bell, Mel Stottlemyre comes out. Now he'll make a pitching change. But watch McReynolds, how he gets to this ball. He cuts it off, keeps it from going to the wall, and then he turns and fires a strike to second base. Probably one of the most underrated players in all of the National League, Kevin McReynolds. But now Mel Stottlemyre, the pitching coach, is out, and he's made a pitching change here, as Darling has been touched up for 4 runs, 7 hits so far. Davey Johnson, the skipper.
Well, he's had a good outing today, Ron Darling. Looks like Jeff Innes, a right-hander. And let me see. He was just called up. He's a non-roster player, actually. 26-year-old right-hander.
Pitched for the Mets last year.
Started out in Tidewater.
But Darling got a good day's work in today. Bell's his responsibility, but Darling gave up 4 runs. Todd Stottlemyre's father, Mel, the pitching coach. There's a look at Jeff Innes, the young right-hander. Innes in '88, 1 win, 1 loss, 1.89 ERA. He pitched in 12 games for the Mets, 19 innings. Pitched at Tidewater, where he was 0-5.
We're going to have a look at the construction that's going on at the Sky Dome up in Toronto. Of course, we're looking for opening day, June the 5th, against Milwaukee. Everybody says that it will be on time, and it will be done. You know, I spent some time there, Buck, just before we came down, but right where, what do we call that right there? That's where home plate is. I don't know, what do you call
A
this?
crane.
A crane. That's the word I was looking for. Saw there the crane.
This yellow thing over here is
That
a
yellow
crane.
thing, that's got it, a crane.
That truck is just about in second base, and they're putting the seats in. What an outstanding, standing stadium. We were there and looked at it, and it's going to be a great view from everywhere. There's the center field scoreboard.
I noticed in the front page of the Toronto Star today, there was a big article about season tickets that they had a draw, and they were only drawing for over 2,500 tickets, and they felt that some of the fans were really upset. They felt more tickets were available. They took some of the tickets out for the consortium. So who knows if that's finished with.
I know I'll have a seat, Ferg, right next to you up in the old press box, huh?
By golly, we can hardly wait. Bell down at first. 2 down, a 4-2 ball game. The Blue Jays leading. Bottom of the 5th inning. Jeff Innes now on the mound. Batter is Fred McGriff. Fouls that one out of play.
You can't be too encouraged if you're a young pitcher in this Met organization about your chances of making the team. You consider the starting staff, and then you look to the bullpen. You got Myers, McDowell, Terry Leach. Not a whole lot of openings.
Well, in Innes' last 9 appearances with the Mets last year, he only allowed 2 unearned runs. So he did a pretty good job.
Well, you can see he throws sidearm, has that good sinker, very much like Terry Leach, who's been so successful for the Mets over the last couple of years. Last year, Leach was the setup man for McDowell and eventually Randy Myers, the big left-hander out of the pen.
Blue Jays 12-3 in spring training. The Mets 6-9. Blue Jays with the best record. They had a good spring in '85 too, when they went on to win their division.
Down in the bullpen, Tom Henke starts to throw for the Blue Jays as long as this inning is taken. I said Henke, that's Frank Wills, of course. Frank Wills, the right-hander.
Who has done a pretty good job down here.
Boy, he's in a catch-22. As a release player, he can't be signed by the Blue Jays and taken to the big leagues until the middle of May. So no matter how well he throws, he can't break with the club. But certainly everybody has been impressed with Frank and his performance this spring. Well, I tell you, they've got a lot of pitching themselves. Bell on at first.
2 balls, 2 strikes. Line right at Jeffries, off his glove, but he'll still have time to make the play. So the Blue Jays score 2 runs here in the 5th inning. Back-to-back triples by Mosby and Liriano. 4-2, Toronto leads. You're watching Labatt's Blue Jays baseball on TSN. Jeff Musselman will pitch another inning for the Blue Jays here in the 6th as they have a 4-2 lead over the New York Mets. And he'll be facing the big guy, Darryl Strawberry, the right fielder for New York, who's 0 for 1 with a walk. The Jays with 7 hits. Jesse Barfield managed to crank out his first home run in spring training back in the 2nd. There it is. 120 baseball games this spring and summer on TSN. How about that?
And we'll have 50 of them regular Blue Jay games during the summer. 2 more from spring training.
Don't forget, there's going to be free TV for TSN come September, but if some of you people are watching TSN today and you don't have it at home, cable, well, why don't you get it? Because it's going to be an interesting summer. You know, the Sky Dome opening up and the Blue Jays picked to win the East Division. Oh, there it is. You knew it was coming. Strawberry and Musselman. And look at Gruber goes after Strawberry. That's in retaliation for Darling. This could be a good one. Look out. Well, we talked about it earlier, Buck. Ron Darling hit Jesse Barfield, and here Musselman came right back.
Look at George Bell in the back. Somebody's grabbing onto him. He said, "Don't grab me, man." That's big Edwin Nunez in the back. There goes Musselman. He's out of the game.
He's out of the game.
Well, if you got to go, that's a good way to go. Just plunk him and then take a hike.
Strawberry knew what was going on. No doubt about that. Pat Borders and Kelly Gruber null and voided big Darryl Strawberry. There's Musselman. He'll get a pat on the backside. Jimmy Williams.
Well, remember I said to you before, I said, now who would you go after? Would you go after Mookie Wilson or Darryl Strawberry? I guess we just found out.
You betcha. Strawberry knew what was going on. Right square in the middle of the back. Here, let me see. Try this one on for size. Wham! Look out. I tell you, if you're going to hit somebody, that's the place to hit him.
Watch Musselman get out of the way. Musselman is smarter than he looks. Don't forget, you're talking about a Harvard grad.
That's right.
He wasn't going to hang around for Strawberry. Now watch him.
He says, well, I can't.
Now watch. He's going to duck right here. Let me out of here.
Look at Gruber, high and low. I tell you, you talk about a couple of guys that really want to get in the dirt. That's Kelly Gruber and Pat Borders. There's two guys right here. Look at Borders. Borders is right on his tail. Now watch Gruber come in the front. Bam! High and low. Those two guys can handle anybody, I tell you. I don't care how tall Strawberry is. You get Gruber and Borders on them, they'll nullify anybody. Look at this. There's a halfback and a linebacker going after the big wide receiver. That's good stuff right there. Great pictures. I tell you, those two guys, I want on my side. Gruber and Borders. Jimmy Williams, he made his point very clearly stated. Don't forget, fans, tune in October and you can see this once again when these two guys meet in the World Series. I told you this is a little bit like regular season, huh?
That's a good sign, though. You know, when you see how, even here in spring training, a manager like Jimmy is going to protect his players.
Jeff Musselman did his job.
Yep.
He got out there and plunked Strawberry. Look at this guy's getting late for the fight. Who's that running out of the clubhouse? Somebody was late for the fight. But Frank Wills, he was getting ready for this before the inning started. He went down there to warm up. But Strawberry over at first base, Larry Young saying, now listen, Jimmy, we can't have any more of this. This is spring training and we don't want anybody to get hurt out here. Jimmy Williams says, hey, I agree with you, but they hit Barfield first. And now I just happen to have Strawberry get in front of a Musselman fastball, so I think everything's even. What do you think about it? I tell you, that's good for the old attitude. That makes Barfield feel good, too.
You're darn right it does.
Barfield said, hey, these guys are sticking up for me. Little Musselman goes out there and plunks Strawberry. You know, you could have hit anybody else, but, boy, he waited for the big guy to come out here. Frank Wills is on for the Blue Jays. Right-handed pitcher. Did a good job for the Blue Jays last year.
Don't forget, our next Grapefruit League telecast will be next Saturday afternoon at 1 p.m. Eastern, when the Blue Jays will be at Al Lang Stadium in St. Petersburg to take on the St. Louis Cardinals. Cardinals beat the Blue Jays 3-1.
Jesse Barfield feels real good about that, when in fact Musselman retaliated. You know, one thing that I noticed, Borders and Gruber had a hold of Strawberry, and there were no Mets around Strawberry. I think that pretty much sends a message about just how they feel. Darryl, of course, was accused of being pretty selfish over there. Hernandez had a talk with him, and as we heard on the pregame, Hernandez had said, well, some of that stuff was instigated by the media, possibly, because there wasn't any story coming out of Port St. Lucie. But you can see that there weren't a whole lot of Mets mad dashing it out there to protect Darryl Strawberry. And Borders and Gruber had him in a bear hug, high and low, and he was null and void. But the rest of the Mets just kind of milled around. Nobody came over there and said, hey, don't mess with Darryl. But that's very interesting. That might send a message just to what they think about some of the antics that Strawberry has pulled. He's wanted to renegotiate his contract. He has a contract for over $1 million. Davey Johnson has always said, hey, boys will be boys. Let them go about their business. But he can't have pitchers retaliating at the big guys like Strawberry and Hernandez. But I tell you, it was interesting to see that there weren't a whole lot of Mets out there around Darryl Strawberry.
So Wills now will face the left fielder Kevin McReynolds. Wills, this will be his 6th appearance of spring training. He has pitched 7 innings and given up only 1 earned run and 3 hits. He has walked only 1 and struck out 8. And we've told you that he has been very impressive in spring training.
I guarantee you, Pat Borders' adrenaline is really running after that. He got to scrap it up a little bit out there.
Oh, that was a great hit, high and low, wasn't it?
Well, I tell you, Gruber and Borders together, they can spell trouble.
The happiest guy in the ballpark was Musselman.
It's like, listen, you duck out of the way, Jeff. We'll take care of the big guys.
He should have a good line or two after this game is over.
They're going to try to get Strawberry at first. I tell you, I saw a pitcher run off the mound one time in Oakland. He ran for shortstop when Dennis Leonard drilled Don Baylor right in the back. Same type thing. He ran for shortstop. He wasn't hanging around.
Who grabbed Baylor?
I grabbed Baylor. Bill Haller grabbed Baylor, and all three of us went to the mound.
Wills ahead on the count. No balls and 2 strikes to Kevin McReynolds. With Strawberry on at first, nobody down. Blue Jays leading 4-2 here in the 6th inning at Grant Field in Dunedin, Florida. Off the end of the bat. A high hopper for Fernandez. Juggles the ball. Everybody's safe.
What Fernandez was thinking about doing was trying to force Strawberry at second. He couldn't come up with the ball. And then Strawberry ran around him as he had to avoid him. That ball hit Fernandez on the heel of the glove. Now he's bobbling, trying to make the tag at the same time, but he failed to come up with the ball. So Fernandez will have his second error of the day. That doesn't happen very often, but it's Strawberry at second base. Reached when he was hit by a pitch by Jeff Musselman. Kevin McReynolds at first.
Gary Carter, the batter. Carter hit into a double play in the first, singled in the 4th inning down the right field line. Breaking ball inside.
One for 2 on the day, but not a pretty good indication of how poorly he's swinging, because he's been out in front both times against Musselman. Now he's facing a right-hander for the first time, Frank Wills.
Off the end of the bat, foul down the right side.
Carter is lunging at everything. Everything is out in front, hitting it off the end of the bat, not staying back. That's just a little bit trying to force things to happen. You know, when you struggle like Carter did last year, you want to make things happen instead of letting the ball come to you. Johnson was telling him that during batting practice. There's a good look at Frank Wills.
You know, you look back at Carter's record from May the 16th to the end of the season. He hit only .228 with 3 home runs, 25 RBIs, and just 16 extra base hits. And looper Liriano is there in shallow center field to make the catch. Now Howard Johnson, the third baseman, who's 1 for 2, will face the right-hander Frank Wills. Well, the numbers are going to be tough on this Blue Jay pitching staff. Jimmy Williams is going to go with 10 pitchers. Who do you keep? And I mean, you know, you can pick a 12-man pitching staff, and it's going to be tough. Chop a couple off that.
That's when you come up with real good pitching staffs, when you got that kind of competition.
Ground ball, McGriff, he'll bobble the ball. Look at that. Bases are loaded. Now the Blue Jays are starting to get sloppy here in the 6th inning.
Now look at Gruber's right over there having a talk with Strawberry. He said, hey, man, you hit our guy, we hit your guy. But Johnson reaches on McGriff's air. Uncharacteristically, Fred McGriff boots the ball. Now the Blue Jays have made 3 errors on the day, just when we talked about how good they were playing fundamentally. Look at Gruber and Strawberry. There's still John over there at third base. Look at.
Look at the third. They want to fight. Strawberry's going to go after Gruber. Look at this. They're going to throw Strawberry out of the game.
Jim McKeon's throwing him out of the game.
Yes, sir.
I tell you, Strawberry just has had all kinds of problems this spring, hasn't he? Gruber
Gruber was standing right in his face on the bag, and it wasn't until Gruber backed all the way over to third base position that Strawberry finally said something to him. But I tell you, Gruber went right in his face. He said, "What's the matter with you, man?" Barfield's in there now.
Now look at Jimmy Williams is circling him. Williams is really upset.
Well, I tell you, Strawberry has had problems with his team, the other team. He's not going to have too many friends on anybody's team. He's been thrown out of the game. Jim McKean threw him out of the game. And now he's going to be booed by the fans here at Grant Field.
Well, I'll tell you, the fans sure had their money's worth here this afternoon.
Jimmy Williams, Jim McKean now. Arguing Strawberry.
Has he thrown Jimmy out?
McKean, Larry Young, the home plate umpire. They've had enough of this stuff now. It's a little bit nonsense. But I tell you, I like the way Gruber went right into Strawberry's face when they were standing on the bag at third and said, "Hey, what's the matter with you, man?" Jimmy Williams. Now look at Strawberry going after Gruber, but it wasn't until Gruber backed all the way over to his third base position. Jim McKean says, "Get out of here. I've seen enough of your act today." Look at Pat Borders. He got down there in a hurry, didn't he? But I tell you, Strawberry didn't say a word until Gruber backed up to third. Gruber was right in his chest when they were standing on the bag saying, "Hey, big boy, what's your problem today?" And then Jimmy Williams.
Well, Williams has not been thrown out.
Gruber is ready to play ball.
Yeah, he's down there. Brentley came over from the bullpen. Now Kelly is pointing at somebody in the stands.
He wants to fight somebody today. He says, "Come on down here. Look at Williams out. We got to get Kelly out of here."
Yeah, I guess Jimmy is out.
No, Kelly's out. That's what he's done. He's thrown Kelly out of the game.
Infante will come in from the bullpen.
Frank Pulley, the National League umpire, doesn't know what's going on, but somebody's leaving.
Now they're going to need a runner for Strawberry down at third.
And now Davey Johnson wants Kevin McReynolds out of this game. He said, "If things get out of hand, I don't want anybody valuable hurt. Look at you, come over here. So Kevin McReynolds, you come with me. Sit on the bench next to me. I want to make sure nothing happens to you." Gruber's out of the game. So we've got all the combatants off the field now. Musselman's in the shower. Gruber's headed for this shower. And Darryl Strawberry's on the other side of the field.
Lee Mazzilli has come in to run for Strawberry.
Let me tell you something. I was impressed with the way Gruber went right in Strawberry's face and said, "Hey, what's going on with you out here?" Davey Johnson says, "Hey, Kevin, sit next to me. Carter, stay on the other side. You two guys stay right here. If this thing gets silly, I don't want you guys getting hurt. We got to win a pennant here." Watch Gruber. He goes right after Strawberry, but Strawberry waited until Gruber moved all the way back to his third base position. Now look at number 10. Pat Borders comes down there and says, "Listen, you need any help, Grube?" And then Strawberry is going to get real tough when the crowd gets around.
Kevin Elster, the shortstop now, to face Wills. A diving play by Infante. The ball gets by. Out to Bell. He bobbles it. Throw into third.
Well, let's sort this thing out now. Elster, base hit to left field, drives in one, and then Bell's there allows the second run to come across, and we've got a tie ball game at 4-all. Lee Mazzilli came in to pinch run for Strawberry. He scored on the base hit.
So you've got Howard Johnson down at third. The batter is the catcher, Barry Lyons. And Elster at second. So a couple of errors here in this inning. Infante will go home. And they put the tag on Howard Johnson for the out. As the Blue Jays have made 3 errors in this inning. 2 down.
Here's a nice defensive play by a couple of players. Infante, the new third baseman, just coming in, alertly gets the ball and then cuts the runner off the plate. Watch Borders positioning at plate. He's got the plate blocked well up the line, puts the tag on Howard Johnson, and Johnson never gets to home plate. Nice job by Borders. Infante, I think, is a perfect candidate for this utility role.
Mookie Wilson.
Wow, that got Borders.
Side.
That caught Borders right in the neck. He turned his head a little bit and just cleared the mask enough for him to get it in the neck. He better get that tobacco out of his mouth before he swallows it. Thank you. I know that feeling. Watch how Borders just turns his head a little bit. He turns it a little bit to his left, and it catches him right underneath the mask. So his little protector that he has on his mask didn't come through for him. But that caught him. There you see that little hang down plastic guard that generally keeps those foul tips off your throat. But that time.
Now, if Strawberry was in the dugout, he'd have a few things to say to Borders right now. Wouldn't he be all over him like a dirty shirt?
I tell you, fans, if it happens on the baseball field, we'll have it for you today. Fights, home runs, foul tips in the throat, ejections. Musselman's been thrown out. Gruber's been thrown out. Darryl Strawberry's been thrown out. Pat Borders is going to have a drink of water, see if his throat works. So Borders is all right. I tell you, he and Gruber have had a big day here today. They've tackled Darryl Strawberry a couple times.
Borders has got a double. And Gruber's 0 for 3 at the plate. No balls and a strike to Mookie Wilson. 2 down, bottom of the 6th inning. This game is tied at 4. Usually in spring training games, 5th, 6th, 7th inning, you'll see a lot of fans file out of the stadium. Not this afternoon. A lot of excitement here in the top of the 6th inning.
Well, with the names of the players you got on the field today, nobody's going to leave. Both clubs really using their frontline players. Wills with a breaking pitch high. Ball's behind Wilson. 2 balls and a strike. Wilson, a switch hitter, bats left-handed against Frank Wills.
Down at second is Elster. Barry Lyons down at first. Count is 3 balls and a strike now to Mookie Wilson.
Wills is just overthrowing a little bit. I think he's been so smooth and effective all spring long that he's forcing it a bit now, and it's caused him some control problems. He's behind Wilson 3-1.
He should have been out of this inning long ago. Bases are loaded. The batter is Greg Jeffries, the second baseman. So down at third, you got Elster. Barry Lyons, the catcher, at second. And Mookie Wilson at first. Jeffries 1 for 3, a single and scored a run in the first inning. Ground ball right back to Wills. He'll take his time. Jeffries is out of there, but it's a tie ball game as we head to the bottom of the 6th inning. The Blue Jays 4, the Mets 4. And we've had an interesting afternoon here at Grant Field in Dunedin. You're watching Labatt's Blue Jays baseball on TSN. 4-ball game, the Mets and the Blue Jays. We're in the bottom of the 6th.
There's the captain, Keith Hernandez, over there having a chat with Mike Squires, the first base coach. And I didn't notice Hernandez going back-to-back with Strawberry taking on the Blue Jays, did you?
I sure didn't either.
No, he wasn't out there anywhere to be found. He said, hey, Darryl got himself into this.
Well, it's interesting. It all started back in the 4th inning when Jesse Barfield came to the plate and Ron Darling hit him on the elbow. Barfield went out to the mound and went after Darling, and of course both benches empty. Well, then it was a question, when would the Blue Jays get even? And they did. Jeff Musselman hit Darryl Strawberry in the 6th inning. Strawberry was leading off the first pitch. He plunked him square in the back. And then it all happened. Strawberry went after Musselman. Musselman got out of the way. Borders and Gruber, I should say. They tackled Strawberry.
Bill Lombardi's the new catcher for the Mets. Replaces Barry Lyons. Now Barfield will lead things off here in the 6th inning for the Blue Jays.
Jeff Innes, the right-hander, is still on the mound. Started the season out with the Mets last year, or with Tidewater, and then he was called up for 12 appearances with the Mets. You look back in '87, he was up and down 4 times. Barfield fouls that one over by the Blue Jay dugout. Jesse homered back in the 2nd inning and was hit by that pitch in the 4th. There's our TSN cameraman here, and Kenny Harden, former 3rd baseman with the Platteville Spitfires. Popped up. Lombardi out in front of the plate will leave it for Howard Johnson. One down, and that'll bring up Rance Mullenix. Well, it sure has been a quiet spring training, Buck Martinez.
Until today. Well, you got to work on every aspect of your game here in spring training. Today, the Blue Jays and the Mets worked on their fighting and bench clearing brawls. Nobody was hurt. We've had 3 ejections. Musselman, Gruber, and Strawberry all thrown out of the game. It's been a good ball game.
And that's popped up in the infield by Mullenix. Howard Johnson again will wait for it, and he leaves it for the shortstop, Elster. 2 down.
That's a new shortstop. That's Craig Shipley, I believe.
Shipley,
who Johnson feels deserves to be in the big leagues, but Mullenix is 0 for 3 now with that pop-up.
Shipley played in the minor leagues last year at Tidewater and Jackson. He's a switch hitter. Ground ball to Shipley. To Hernandez. 3 up, 3 down for the young right-hander Jeff Innes. And through 6, we're tied at 4. You're watching Labatt's Blue Jays baseball on TSN. Who has made quite an impression on everybody here in spring training. He's in to play left field here in the 7th inning in place of George Bell. Rob Ducey, who's tearing the Grapefruit League apart at the plate, in center field. And the veteran Tom Lawless, who's trying to catch on with his club, a veteran infielder, utility player, who right now does not have a guaranteed contract. In the way he's played this spring, things don't look all that good for him. But who knows what Jimmy Williams wants. Frank Wills doing the pitching. He stays in. Tim Tolman is down at first base. He's a veteran minor league player who's been up and down in the major leagues with Houston and Detroit. And I'll tell you, he's been swinging a pretty good bat here in spring training. And I know that he'll probably start in Syracuse, but if they have any problems at all, they'll be calling him up. And Manny Lee is in to play shortstop. And you know all the rumors about Manny Lee being traded this spring. And a lot of clubs wanting Manny Lee to play short for them. He started shortstop against Pittsburgh the other day, and Pittsburgh probably have made more noise about Manny Lee than any other team down here.
This Mets club is another club that could use Manny Lee. That's where he came from originally.
Fly ball hit by Fernandez to left field. Junior Felix will wait for it, and he's got it. And don't forget, TSN presents the Dubin Inquiry, a special report, tomorrow evening at 6 p.m. Eastern. Lee Mazzilli, in place of Darryl Strawberry, steps up to the plate. This game is tied at 4. 7 hits for the Blue Jays, 5 for the New York Mets. Barfield with a home run for Toronto, his first of spring training. Here's a veteran who has kicked around for a number of years. Started out with the Mets, then went to Texas and Pittsburgh, and now he's back here with the Mets. A role player on this club. That's chopped in front of the plate. Wills will have to hurry. Tolman makes the play. Good one by Frank Wills, the pitcher.
Nice play by Wills, as he couldn't put the tag on Mazzilli as the runner had passed him by, but he had to make a quick throw, and he made a nice play. Watch how Wills gets the ball and just has to flip inside the bag to Tolman. That's a tough play, and he made a nice one. So Wills continues to try to make a big impression here in spring training. He knows he can't break with the club because of that contract status. He can't join the club until mid-May, but he can certainly be recalled. This is Darren Reed.
Young outfielder who played in Tidewater last year. Hit .241 with 9 home runs, just 23 years of age.
Boy, he's having a big spring, hitting .429 with a couple of homers and 7 RBIs. He came over from the Yankees in that Santana deal when the Yankees acquired the shortstop. Good-looking young outfielder. Yeah, Jimmy's got the edge off now. He protected his players. Barfield was hit.
Well, he sent a message today to his players.
I'm going to stand up for you.
Yep. And not that they didn't know that last year, but there's a shot hit to center field. Ducey will wait for it for the 3rd out. A nice job by Frank Wills here in the 7th inning. This game is still tied at 4. You're watching Labatt's Blue Jays baseball on TSN. Bucks crystal ball, the predictions. The Mets even money. Well, I think the Mets should be 3-5, 2-5.
See, now I don't know those kind of odds. You would know that stuff. But Pittsburgh, I don't think they're ready to compete with the Mets yet. I think the Mets are the best in the East by far.
I would think Montreal would be 4-1 if they had Perez.
They don't have Perez. That's right. I think that's worth 2 points.
At least.
And then you go down to the rest. St. Louis, going to be a long year for them. They lost Danny Cox. They need some starting pitching. Over in the West, I like San Diego. They picked up Hurst. They picked up Jack Clark.
You've got the Dodgers, the world champions, at 8-1.
You heard it right here, folks. 8-1.
Let me tell you, in Las Vegas, San Diego was the favorite in the National League.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's what I think. Atlanta could be a tough year for Bobby Cox down there, general manager of the Braves.
You know, when you lay odds like that, Buck, I'll guarantee you there's some viewers out there saying, give me a piece of that Buck Martinez. I'll take those 8-1 odds. Don't forget the Dodgers got Eddie Murray this year. And I think the way he's playing in spring training, you heard what Rick Dempsey said either yesterday or the day before, that Eddie Murray is playing with the old intensity.
And he's got an old body now, too, though. Now, Eddie's going to have a fine year for the Dodgers. I just don't think they can compete with the Padres. I think Cincinnati's going to have a good year.
Tell you what we'll do with those, Buck. We'll save them. And at the end of the year, we'll have a look at them.
I was afraid you were going to say that. No, that'll be interesting. I'm sure I'm going to be right in all 4 divisions.
I think you're a lead pipe cinch in 3 of the divisions.
Where do you disagree?
The West. I don't like San Diego.
You think the Dodgers are going to win it again?
I don't say the Dodgers, but I don't like San Diego to win it. But that doesn't mean anything. Bruce Hurst will really help that ball club. Liriano pops that one up in the infield. Johnson makes the play. So 1 down here in the 7th inning.
Well, I think Hurst will help the Padres. Jack Clark will help the Padres.
Yeah.
They've got some pretty good players out there before that. Santiago, the catcher. I think the Padres are still going to make a trade, improve their ball club. They got Alomar, the catcher. Sandy Alomar Jr. supposed to be almost as good as Benito Santiago. They might make a trade. A couple more weeks left in spring training.
Well, that's it. It's really not fair to post odds at this time, only for that very reason. A lot of things can happen. Injuries, trades between now and the end of the season. But I think those odds are pretty close to the money.
Howard Johnson got another tester down there at third base, not so much for his glove, but for his arm, and he threw a strike over to the first baseman to retire Ducey.
Now Infante.
Here's a look at the line score. Mets came up with a couple in the first inning. Blue Jays came back and then eventually got ahead by 2, but the Mets tied it. 4 runs, 5 hits for the Mets, 4 runs, 7 hits, 4 errors for the Blue Jays.
Alexis Infante, who Buck thinks has an outside shot at making this club.
Well, I think he can do more things than the other people. I think he can play all 3 infield positions. He could play in the outfield if you have to. He's a good base runner and a pretty good contact hitter. He can bunt, hit, and run. I think it gives you just a little bit more in that utility infield role.
He was the MVP down at Syracuse this past season. Three up, 3 down inning for Jeff Ennis. So through 7 here in Dunedin. It is still tied at 4. You're watching Labatt's Blue Jays baseball on TSN. He has come into this ball game here in the 8th inning to pitch for the Toronto Blue Jays. Hankey in spring training so far. Let's have a look at his numbers and see if we can find them here. He's had a decent spring. All we've got to do is find out exactly what he's done here to pass it on to you. He's 1-0 with a 2.25. This will be his 7th appearance. He has pitched 8 innings. He has struck out just 3. Usually you see a guy like Hankey average a strikeout an inning.
Well, he's working more on a slider, and I think he's gone to that pitch a little bit early in spring training, trying to get command of that slider. He knows what he can do with the fastball and the changeup, so he wants to work on the slider early. I think that's why his strikeouts are down. Al Widmar, the pitching coach. Veteran catcher Sal Butera, regarded by many of the Blue Jays pitchers as the best receiver in camp. Butera did a nice job when he was recalled. There's the skipper, Jimmy Williams. He doesn't like the defense he's seen this game. 3 errors in the 6th inning accounted for 2 unearned Met runs that had tied the game.
Gary Carter, who is 1 for 3, hit into a double play, singled, and popped up.
Gary just can't get that bat out in front. Fastballs are getting on him. He's not extending his bat out in front. Well, you know, you hear people talk about getting the head out, and Carter is just a little bit behind so far.
He drops down. Carter fouls that one up. He's been doing that a lot more in spring training.
That's what caused success for Hankey when he first came up. That sidearm delivery when he came up in '85, midway through the season. That was the key to his success.
Well, he went away from it a lot last year. I mean, I hardly saw him throw it.
Change up high. Well, you know, I asked him about that, why he had gotten away from it. He said, you know, I just did. It was just like all of a sudden I wasn't throwing many sidearm pitches at all. So it's a conscious effort this spring to throw more sidearm pitches. This is a good time for one right here.
Hankey jumped out of the box in great style last year. Successful in his first 9 save appearances. Finished up with 25. With the All-Star break, he already had 16 saves. And he tailed off, and that might be because of Dwayne Ward, who came on strong.
Well, Ward got a few more of the save opportunities and did a nice job himself. Saved 15 games.
High fly ball, left field, down the line. Junior Felix back to the wall. It's out of there, but it is a fair ball. It is a fair ball. Jimmy McKean, the third base umpire, was standing on the line and called it. 5-4 for the Mets.
Well, we've seen a couple of big bashers get their first home run of the spring today. Jesse Barfield did it for the Blue Jays, and now the kid, Gary Carter, comes through. That time he cleared his hips out of the way, got the big part of the bat on the ball, and just kept it fair. Watch just as it goes by the foul line, past the foul pole in left field. plenty of distance, just a matter of whether or not it was fair or foul, and it just curved inside that foul pole. So Henke gives up the long ball, and the Mets take the lead 5-4 here in the top of the 8th inning.
That's the 11th home run that Blue Jay pitchers have given up this spring training.
Good off-speed pitch. That's what they're looking for. A little bit of pop from the bat of Gary Carter. They're not so concerned about his catching. He feels like he's a little bit stronger in the knee department. Look at a big smile from Davy Johnson, boy. That's good news.
Yeah, and he's finished for the day.
Yeah, take it on in, Gary. Yeah, he did. Went around after that changeup, and Hojo goes down on strikes. Henke comes through with that good changeup, but he tried to bust a fastball in on Gary Carter. And Carter's getting a nice round of applause from the fans. Good smile again. Nice to see him smiling. It was a tough year for him last year. I tell you, there's no better ambassador for baseball than Gary Carter. Always has time for the fans.
Shipley, the hitter.
From Australia. Played at the University of Alabama. But he started out born in South Wales, Australia.
That's popped up. Tolman, the first baseman, for the second out. Now Phil Lombardi, the catcher. 5-4 for the Mets. Tomorrow, the Blue Jays will travel to Bradenton to face the Pirates at 1 p.m. Jimmy Key will go to the mound. He's 2-1 with a 6 ERA. And don't forget, TSN will be televising tomorrow the Yankees and the Expos. And we'll be back a week from today from St. Petersburg at 1 o'clock with the Cardinals and the Blue Jays.
Lombardi came over from the New York Yankees in that Santana deal. Played at Tidewater last year. Hit .308 with 9 homers. Has some power potential.
Ground ball to Infante. So Henke gives up a home run to Gary Carter here in the 8th inning, and the Mets take a 5-4 lead. You're watching Labatt's Blue Jays baseball on TSN. 4-ball game, the Mets leading the Blue Jays, and we're in the bottom of the 8th inning here at Grant Field in Dunedin. And the big left-hander for the Mets, Randy Myers, has come on to pitch here. He was 7-3 in 55 appearances with 26 saves. He'll face Lee, Junior Felix.
This guy,
he
throws hard.
Yep.
He comes out there with one thing on his mind, to throw as hard as he can for as long as he's out there. There's a changeup sign, but that's just a decoy, believe me. He's going to come hard slider, hard fastball.
He said his biggest goal in baseball is to be officially clocked at throwing a baseball at 100 miles an hour. Apparently that has not happened yet.
Nolan Ryan threw 100.
No, I know, but for
him?
for Myers.
Oh.
We know about Ryan.
Yeah. Myers is a very big advocate of weightlifting. He works out after every ball game. In fact, he missed the celebration last year when they won the pennant. Everybody was in drinking champagne, and he was in lifting weights. He said, I don't have any time for that frivolity. I'm going to work on my mechanics and my weightlifting.
He averaged a strikeout an inning last year. He's the hardest, well, maybe I guess the second hardest thrower in the National League. Nolan Ryan. Manny Lee pops that one up. Tuffle, the first baseman, will make the play. Davy Johnson along with Jimmy Williams.
They've both enjoyed a lot of success since coming to the major leagues. Johnson, the last 3 years, has won 300 games. Williams is third on the list behind Sparky Anderson for the most victories the last 3 years.
269.
A couple of pretty good managers, a couple of pretty good teams. Maybe they'll meet in October in the Fall Classic. They've got to get through their respective divisions and then their league championships before that can happen.
Now Junior Felix. who, according to Buck, has played his way onto this ball club this year. You know, the only question I ask about Felix, you leave a youngster like him on the bench when you've got the big three in the outfield. Is he your fifth outfielder? Will he see that much action? Shouldn't he be playing in Syracuse every day? That's a question the Blue Jays management will.
He should be playing
around
every day, but Williams wants to take 5 outfielders. Now he only has 5 in camp. They sent Baptiste down. So the extra 2 outfielders figure to be Ducey and Felix at this time. Remember, there's always room for a trade. Now, Lombardi's going to go talk to Myers.
Don't forget, the Expos return to TSN tomorrow afternoon when they face the Yankees in Fort Lauderdale at 1:30 Eastern. That should be a good one.
Yankees got all kinds of problems. Winfield has back problems. Guidry.
Pitching's always been their problem the last few years.
Elbow chips. Rigetti has a sore shoulder.
The old man of the staff, Tommy John, has simply been outstanding in spring training. And remember what Dallas Green said? He didn't even want him.
Didn't want him. Now he's his best pitcher.
Yeah.
I don't know if John's going to make that team. You know, if they don't figure to be contenders, they would be better off to go with a younger guy, give him a chance to play. Al Leiter's been outstanding for him. Boy, is that a fastball or what? There's no messing around. You know, the Mets say that Randy Myers is so intense, he makes Tug McGraw look mellow. That's pretty intense, believe me. McGraw was a maniac out there. Look at that fastball. He's just rearing back and throwing. That's country hardball right there. Felix got tied up, and this young man can turn a pretty good fastball around. But Myers has got a better than pretty good fastball.
Well, Myers allowed just less than 6 hits per 9 innings last year. That was the best in the game.
There's a little slider just beaten foul, and Felix stays alive. You can see that he's not a real big guy. He's 6 foot tall, 190 pounds, but he really pounds those weights hard. Something that has really changed in baseball. They used to tell you to stay away from the weights. It'll bind you up, make you too tight. Wow. He just barely got a piece of that one. That was almost in Lombardi's glove before Felix fouled that out.
I'll tell you what, Felix is getting a piece of that ball, and he really does look comfortable at the plate, doesn't he?
Well, he's got a lot of confidence. He hits from an open stance from both sides of the plate. It's almost a mirror image from either side of the plate.
A little low.
Okay, he's hanging tough against a pretty good pitcher. The thing that Felix gives you is speed. He can come off the bench as a pinch runner. He's a switch hitter.
How many times have we seen him down here, Buck, hit a ground ball to the shortstop and beat it out?
That's the kind of speed he has.
Fly ball down the left field line, but it will be foul.
And out of the ballpark.
Yeah.
That's another thing. He hit a home run yesterday off the Cincinnati club to right center. He can do a lot of things for you, and I certainly know that he's opened a lot of eyes around here.
Well, remember, before spring training started, Epi Guerrero, their scout in the Dominican, said he could play in this club today, and he's right. Myers catches the inside corner.
Felix didn't think it was a strike, but boy, Myers made a tough pitch. Watch the inside corner right here. Fastball. Lombardi catches it nicely. Larry Young rings up Felix. That was a good at bat for Felix, but Myers wins out in the end.
Now Tim Tolman. This is his first plate appearance. Tolman figures to end up down at Syracuse this year. A veteran minor league player. He's got about 2.5 years in the big leagues. He's been up and down a few times. Slapped down to the third baseman. Johnson backhands it, fires it to Tuffle for the third out. A good inning for Randy Myers, the left-hander. 5-4, the Mets leading. You're watching Labatt's Blue Jays baseball on TSN. Grant Field in Dunedin. Great facilities here. We're so close to the crowd. In fact, we're about a row or two away, and it's It's rather intimate, isn't it?
Oh, it's a nice little ballpark.
Yeah.
You know, we've been here ever since the Blue Jays came into the American League, and they're thinking about updating this, upgrading this facility. It's the smallest spring training facility in all of baseball, and I think the Blue Jays have outgrown this facility, but there's going to have to be some improvements around. There are just too many people that want to come in and see the Blue Jays in spring training. They can't accommodate them in the current facilities.
You know, and talking to some of the Blue Jay officials, they don't want to leave Dunedin, but right now there's talk that they don't have enough money as far as the city council here in Dunedin to expand. Now, we'll have to just wait and see what happens. Over at the Engelbert complex, the minor league complex, there's 35 acres out behind that complex that they could expand over there and make a major league park and really do it upright. I know I had a long talk with Kenny Carson about that, and he thinks that would be the best location. Tony Castillo, the left-hander, against Mookie Wilson. A ball and 2 strikes.
Wilson 0 for 3 on the day. He walked. Reached on an error in the first inning and scored. Outside fastball. Wilson taking all the way. He didn't think that was a good pitch. But Larry Young rings up Mookie Wilson, and there's 1 down in the top of the 9th. Watch this fastball from Castillo. Borders really received it nicely, and Larry Young rings him up. Castillo trying to make this ball club from the left side in the bullpen.
I was talking about Kenny Carson earlier. He told me that a few of the wives got together at his home this afternoon to watch the ball game on TSN. Kenny is one of the fortunate few. He has a dish, and he's got all the proper gadgets and everything else to be able to pick up TSN. And his wife Judy's over there entertaining Peggy Williams and Betsy Sullivan and Martha Cisco and Denise Gaston. So gals, oh boy, you sure backed out of a good one this afternoon. But I can just see you sitting around the old swimming pool watching the TV, and every once in a while jump into that cold pool. Oh God, sounds good.
Probably having a nice glass of wine, huh? Ladies, enjoy. It's been exciting out here, but I'm sure it's nice back home.
Greg Jeffries, the hitter. In a 5-4 ball game, a ball and 2 strikes.
There's a good example of how hard Castillo throws for a little guy. He got that fastball in on Jeffries' hands, and Castillo did a nice job when he came up with the Blue Jays last year, all the way from Dunedin. He started out in Dunedin, went 4-3, then went to Knoxville for a game, and then joined the Blue Jays.
And with the Jays, he held the opposition scoreless in 9 of his 12 outings. And he really did come out of nowhere in the Blue Jay organization.
He could serve as a setup man in this bullpen with Henke and Ward really not having any problems with left-handers. Castillo could come in, pitch the 8th, face the tough left-hander, and then they could go to either Henke and Ward.
That's popped up. Manny Lee out into shallow left. Ducey coming on. Junior Felix, it drops in.
There's a little bit of inexperience right there. Somebody's got to take charge on that ball. Junior Felix in left field had the best shot at it.
Yeah, he did.
But he's got to take charge. Jeffries has a bloop single. He's got 2 hits on the day. Hit that one off the end of the bat. But Junior Felix has to take charge and call off Manny Lee. There was a bit of hesitancy on both parts. Lee felt that he shouldn't make the play, didn't really commit to it. You can see that he's hesitant to stick his arm out here. Now kind of fades away from it, but Felix has got to call Lee off on that ball and take over.
Tim Tuffle, the first baseman.
Tuffle playing first base today, but he's in that battle for the second base job, which really hinges on where Jeffrey plays, which hinges on where Hojo plays, whether Johnson can play third on an everyday basis and make the throw across the infield.
And let's not forget Keith Miller. There's a player the Blue Jays I hear are interested in.
I tell you, Miller would be a good player. I tell you, Tuffle's a good player. We saw him with Minnesota, and this guy, Jeffries, already penciled in Rookie of the Year in the National League. He's still eligible, even though he came up at the end of the season last year because he didn't have the sufficient amount of at-bats. He's still eligible for Rookie of the Year. Has a good lead. There he goes.
There he goes. Pitch out. The throw by Borders. Whoa, they've got it.
I know I've talked so much about Pat Borders, but he gets a good runner in Greg Jeffries. Borders called for a pitch out and then throws a rocket down to shortstop. Watch Lee take this throw. This ball is rising when it gets there. A quick tag on Jeffries, and Borders throws out another runner here in spring training. There's a shot of him from the pitch out, showing a strong arm on the money. Quick tag, and Jeffries is out. Borders has really come along mechanically. He has the strong arm of converted third baseman. Man, he has adjusted very well to that catching position.
A shot at Manny Lee. He backhands it. The throw. Oh, what a play. Folks, that's why a number of teams in baseball want that young man to play shortstop for them.
He plants, takes that strong arm all the way across the infield, and makes an outstanding throw.
5-4. The Mets leading here in the 9th inning. You're watching Labatt's Blue Jays baseball on TSN.
He made an outstanding play to end the top of the 9th inning for the Blue Jays. When he goes in the hole, watch him backhand this ball. Now he has such a strong arm. He takes his time, plants, and just fires a rocket across the infield. Look at that arm. Tolman with a nice stretch, but the runner hasn't even come into the picture yet. Manny Lee, boy, he's really sought after by a lot of clubs to play shortstop. I don't think the Blue Jays can afford to give him up yet. He's moved to second base, made the transition very well, and he hit .291 last year.
See, I agree with what you just said. I don't think they can afford to give him up yet.
No. Well, that's good. We finally agreed on something.
You see, what's happening so far is they're not offering too much for Manny Lee.
No.
And the offers, I think, are going to go up a little. That's why Gillick, I think, has played a great game of poker.
I don't think he needs to be in a rush to deal
That's
Manny
right.
Lee. They would get a lot for him. There's no question. But like you say, they'll get more for him as the season nears and clubs realize that they need a shortstop.
When Davey Johnson sits in that opposing dugout and he sees a play like Manny Lee just made, you know, the stock goes up.
And he says, well, how come he's not playing shortstop? Well, the other guy's pretty good too. Well, maybe that's the reason that Fernandez and Lee make such a great combination. Jimmy Williams knows what he has in Manny Lee. He's really accepted the move to second base.
Lawless hits it out into center field where Mookie Wilson waits for it. As Lawless, that's his 14th plate appearance with just 3 hits as he struggles to try to make this team as a utility player. That'll bring up Bob Brenly, who'll be the right-handed DH for the Blue Jays this season, at least so far. Brenly hitting .286 here in spring training. He's a veteran coming off that Blue Jay bench, and that's something that these Jays need. High fly ball. Mookie Wilson again in center field. We'll wait for it. 2 down.
Brenly could really be a big, valuable asset. He serves as a third catcher, can play third base, play over at first base a little bit, but he's got to show a little pop with the bat, something he hasn't done yet, but it's early yet, a couple more weeks in spring training. Here's a matchup that's very interesting right now as Pat Borders steps in. Blue Jays trail by a run. Myers, a fastball pitcher. Borders, a fastball hitter. Watch the matchup. Borders, a very aggressive first pitch hitter. Myers crossed him up, went with a slider, and Borders was geared on the fastball. Couldn't check his swing. I tell you, Borders certainly has enough pop to get one out of here. Myers starts him off with a slider. Another off-speed pitch. Borders has to be patient enough to get a fastball. Myers hasn't shown that he can throw breaking pitches and off-speed pitches over the plate. J.V. Johnson wants to know what he's thinking about. Williams would like to see Borders tie this one up.
Base hit, center field. So with 2 down, That'll bring up Nelson Liriano. It's been quite an afternoon here for the fans at Grant Field. Twice the bench is emptied. Home run by Barfield, and here now Borders takes Randy Myers right up the middle for a line drive single. And Liriano, who's played the entire game at second base, tripled in the 5th inning and scored a run on Lloyd Mosby's triple. So the Jays still not out of this. They trail by 1. 5-4, the Mets leading with 2 down. Low and inside.
You can see Myers' reaction there. It's a spring training game, but he likes to be in the proper frame of mind all the time. This is his type of situation. He's trying to wrap it up here for the Mets in the bottom of the 9th inning. 2 down. Hard throwing Randy Myers.
Right at Howard Johnson. He flips it across. It's off the bag. Borders will stay at second. He better get back. He thought the game was over.
Now, what he thought was that the ball had gone over Tuffle's head. But Tuffle decoyed him. There's a play I talked about earlier where Johnson had plenty of time. Nice, easy throw, and he was thinking about his shoulder. Watch him try to mortar this thing over to first base, and it goes over Tuffle. He catches it, and Borders, running at second base, thought that the ball went by. But Johnson had plenty of time, and now he's thinking, boy, I wonder if this is going to hurt my shoulder. Let me lob this over there. Whoops! Way over the bag at first. Liriano's on.
Tuffle made a good play just to hold up. Ducey's the hitter, and Ducey's been hot, hitting .481, the leading hitter in this Blue Jay club in spring training.
Look at Myers. He's wandering around the mound now, talking to himself, saying, what's going on here? I should be able to get out of this situation easily. And he falls behind Ducey. 1 ball, no strikes. Each time Myers gets that ball, he circles the mound, talks to himself, trying to key up his concentration. Ducey has to fight to try to take this left-hander to left field. Stay on the ball, try to slap at the left.
Well, if you look back at Myers' record last year, I see where he only gave up 1 extra base hit to a left-handed hitter all season long. Palmeiro hit a triple off him.
He's so tough because he throws hard, and then he's got that hard slider. It's really tough on the left-handers like Ducey to hang in there. So Ducey has to make up his mind. I'm not going to pull him. I'm going to try to put the ball in play to the left side of the field. That way I can chase Borders home. Borders should get a good jump off second with 2 outs. Liriano at first. He represents the winning run.
Here's the pitch. Hit deep to right field, down the line. It's out of here. A home run by Rob Ducey. The Blue Jays win it 7-5. How about these Blue Jays? Wow. Rob Ducey off a tough left-hander. I just told you that he had only given up 1 extra base hit all season long last year, and that was to Palmeiro. And here Ducey comes and hits a home run.
And Howard Johnson's there continued the inning to give Ducey a chance to get up there. But I tell you, it is spring training. It doesn't mean an awful lot other than the Blue Jays really had an outstanding day. They hit a couple of home runs. Barfield hits his first. Now watch. Here's the home run by Ducey. An inside fastball. He had opened up, got the head out. Right fielder just gives a look right here as it sails over the right field fence for the game-winning home run by Rob Ducey.
So there you have it, the final score here at Grant Field as the Blue Jays stretch their record to 13-3. The Jays win it over the New York Mets 7-5. You're watching Labatt's Blue Jays baseball on TSN. Now it's time for the TSN Turning Point, brought to you by Converse. No doubt about it, the play of the game, a home run, a 3-run shot by Rob Ducey off left-hander Randy Myers.
He hit it good, got it out in front, and that was the difference in the ball game. Ducey allowed to hit because of Howard Johnson's there with 2 outs, and Rob Ducey comes up with a 3-run homer, and the Blue Jays win it 7-5 against the Mets today. An exciting ball game by all means, but this was the turning point when Rob Ducey came up with a 2-out
3-run homer off left-hander Randy Myers.
Well, let's hope it's a prelude to the World Series, the Mets and the Blue Jays, as we look down the road in this long season. A cash donation will be made to amateur sports on behalf of TSN and Converse. Reach for the stars with the Energy Wave by Converse. You're watching Labatt's Blue Jays baseball on TSN. Labatt's Blue Jays baseball has been brought to you by Labatt's Blue, the clean, true taste of Canada. By Esso retailers and agents across Canada. By your local bottler of Coca-Cola Classic. And by General Motors of Canada Limited. This has been a special presentation of the Sports Network, produced in association with TV Labatt and protected by copyright. The final score, the Blue Jays beat the New York Mets 7-5. The winning pitcher was left-hander Tony Castillo. The loser, Randy Myers. Grapefruit League baseball next on TSN tomorrow at 1:30 Eastern when the Yankees host the Expos in Fort Lauderdale. Then on Saturday, March the 25th at 1 p.m. Eastern, the Cardinals face the Blue Jays in St. Petersburg.